58 degrees. Hoodie season. It's great. It's honestly a great Monday morning in Kansas City. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. A reminder, at noon today, the only place you can hear from Andy Reid is your home for the Chiefs, exclusively on 96.5 The Fan. He had a short press conference last night, so I imagine we'll hear a little bit more of his thoughts on the game. I'm sure they got back pretty late last night with it being Sunday night football. But I hate to be a broken record with the first 3 weeks now of the season, but this team is still not playing all that great of football. And yet, here they are. They're 3-0. Other teams are struggling as well, and they're sitting at 1-2, or they're 2-1. And yet, the Chiefs have played a road game. They've gone up against Burrow and Cousins and Lamar. They're 3-0, and they do simply just find ways to win. When we all know, like, Patrick Mahomes, the team is not playing all that great, not executing, certainly not anywhere near the level that they would like to be at. And yet, this team continues to be a pain in the ass for everybody else in the league. And as we said a week or so ago, like, they are inevitable, and that was another example last night. They have won 9 games in a row, and during those 9, 8 of them were one-score games, tightly contested games.
Well, it's 54 points. This is like the funniest stat ever because I don't know how many 9-0 teams are. I didn't go look it up. 54 points for their 9-0 record in the last 9 games is the lowest margin of victory for 9 games in NFL history. Typically, if you win 9 games in a row, you win them by more, right? So, yeah, it's close. But also, look at the opponents. I would expect 2 games against the Ravens, 2 games against Cincinnati, a game in the playoffs against Miami, a game in the playoffs against the 49ers, a game in the playoffs against the Bills. 3 teams who we thought were all going to be in the playoffs this year in Atlanta, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. I would expect those to be one-possession games. So winning by a small amount, whatever. What do you think? I'm like hurt by that? It's fine. They are just better at winning these games that are ugly more than others. And I'll be honest, some of it is you know that meme where the guy's like riding his bike and then he sticks his own stick through the spokes and he's like, "What happened? I fell over on my bike." That's why some of these games are close at the end. Like yesterday, it's a 2-score game with like 8 minutes to play. If Harrison Butker just makes a damn extra point, and then you and I, Gold, sit back on the couch, crack open a beer, and we're like, victory, problem solved, everybody. But he missed the extra point, and then things got a little interesting.
As they
usually do. The Chiefs just end up winning those games is the difference.
This is why they're must-watch, though. You wonder why they get so many primetime games and all this. Like, tell me when you're not entertained, when you're not, like, I'm not saying it's not stressful. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's stressful.
There's times where it's stressful, and I'm sure a lot of you listening are like, hey, I would have been fine if this was 28-0 at halftime, you know? I guess 28-3, it was in Atlanta. But basically, when you think about how this team has played, if you were to put a letter grade on where they're at, like last night was probably like a C type of performance. And most teams, when you have a C performance against what I think is a Falcons team that has a great chance still to win that division, when they get things really wrong with Kirk Cousins, I don't think he's at 100% yet. You saw some flashes of why people were excited about the Falcons. I think defensively, right, they did some really good things overall. But a lot of teams can't win when they're not playing their A game. And the great teams find ways to win when they're not playing all that well. And that's where this football team, I'll say offensively, because I actually think defensively, we're going to talk more about Nick Bolton here in a little bit. Defensively, this team is playing great. They really are. It doesn't mean that there's not
playing some really good
miscommunication. First drive of the game, clearly some miscommunication there where Drew Tranquill and Najee Johnson, they both went towards the line of scrimmage.
And you can see Najee, they did good job on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Clearly trying to be like, let's switch.
Yeah, it wasn't that Drew Tranquill was on Bijan Robinson out wide. That wasn't necessarily the problem. The problem was that nobody went with Drake London, and they both went with Robinson.
Yeah.
So there's just those mistakes have happened. You get that kind of stuff cleaned up. But it was another example when this team also gets got for a first drive or so, there's no reason to panic, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Nobody adjusts better, as we've said 100 times by now over the last couple seasons, than Steve Spagnuolo in this defense. You got a great game plan, whatever you got to lay out there, you script it up like Andy does. But on the flip side, the Falcons did that, and you got them a little bit. You know, the wide receiver screen to Mooney worked a little bit early on in that game. As the game went on, the Chiefs were ready for it. They didn't have a counter to that. The Falcons didn't. And Nick Bolton's final play of the game, I think, was an example of that on the run. That was something that he was ready for, that they knew was coming. And before Robinson's even cutting to the left on the far side of the field, Nick Bolton's already running to the spot. So all that is well-coached team. Like doesn't mean there's not frustration. I still didn't like some of the decision-making at times. But they're a well-coached team. That's how you win. You just mentioned the stat, 9 straight wins by a combined 54. It's the lowest ever in a nine-game stretch. That only happens because you got great coaching, too.
Correct. Or a quarterback who, when it's down and out and the times are the toughest, will always get it. The Chiefs simultaneously have never scored in 5 years, I think, when they have possession of the ball, already up 1 score, and could make it a 2-score game and end it. They've never scored. I'm convinced. I've never seen a drive in which the Chiefs take possession of the ball, up 1 score in the 4th quarter, and then they go score and end the game. Simultaneously, though, if the Chiefs take possession of the ball either down or tied with a chance to win it, I think they're hitting it like a 90% clip. So in the toughest moments, that is when they are their best. They had 3 penalties go against them in the final drive. The horse collar call was the correct call. He definitely horse collar tackled him. The McDuffie one was garbage, and the hands to the face one was garbage. But so what? When it was 4th and 1, and they had to make a play, what happened? Leo Chanel took on 2 blockers. Nick Bolton ran free through a gap and hit Bijan for his 3rd tackle for loss of the game. So, yeah, and we'll talk more about Bolton in a minute. But it's hard for me to feel like right now, if you made me give a letter grade for how well I think the Chiefs are playing as a team 3 games into the season, B-. I feel like they're playing their B- football. Maybe eventually this just becomes their standard brand, like last year, right? We thought they were playing like B- football for a while, C+ football for a while, and it turned out that was just pretty much their A game. I don't feel that way about this Chiefs team right now. There is unlock or hidden potential inside that offense where yesterday they both looked out of sorts, but also moved the ball. They had drives of 17, 13, 11, and 11 plays. And yeah, I'd like Mahomes to stop throwing bad picks. It was a bad pick.
We're going to talk about him
Justin
a little bit
Simmons.
later on. He acknowledged that he, is not right at this point in time. He blamed some of just basic fundamentals are off right now. And the beautiful thing, and the reason why, there's not panic or anything is, all right, your quarterback admits that he's off right now. You've got some questions still, obviously, at left tackle. We'll talk about Wanya maybe tomorrow on the show a little bit more. And yet you're 3-0, and you look at how other teams have performed in the NFL to this point in time. Other teams that have had that really bad game and they can't get over the hump, and the Chiefs have been able to do that. And so that's the beautiful thing on a victory Monday in Kansas City. You mentioned a couple of the penalties that on that final drive against the Chiefs defense. I think a couple of those were makeup calls because, look, it was not a well-placed ball from Kirk Cousins in the end zone, but should have been pass interference, okay?
Yeah, it was pass interference.
Kyle Pitts got held, but also Kirk Cousins didn't really give him much of a chance to throw it. I think that's why they didn't throw the flag. And that, of course, once again prompted the barrage of fans of every other team saying the Chiefs, it's rigged, et cetera, et cetera. As we've said,
the NFL calls games for them. It's fixed.
Embrace the hate. But I'll admit, it's tough to not also acknowledge those that, for whatever reason, just go to the low-hanging fruit. And it's lazy. There's stats and numbers out there to debunk what everybody thinks is happening in the league. So embrace the hate, but I can't help myself. I can't just sit by on the side blindly and let people claim that the Chiefs get more calls than everybody else when we have the numbers that show that Patrick Mahomes does not get a bunch of roughing the passer penalties. In fact, he gets some of the fewest roughing the passer penalties in the league. So you just go through. What happens is the Chiefs are on primetime. Everybody in the world is watching. They also, when there is a mistake by an official, because the mistakes happen, and I think that should have been a PI, the Chiefs capitalize on it, as in they get a stop on the next play. Because if the Falcons score the very next play, nobody cares about the maybe blown PI call. But the Chiefs don't let you get a second or third chance to make up for that, and you have to capitalize, and they didn't. The Chiefs do, and so that's why it gets pinpointed or picked out more. Plus, when you are the defending champs, in this case back-to-back champs, you're going to have every fan base waiting and hoping for you to fail. And when you don't, they're upset. It's admittedly what we did with the Patriots at the time. So this is nothing new. It seemed like the Patriots got every single call. It seems like the Chiefs, I'm sure to other fan bases, get every single call, but that's not what is happening. They just stand out more because of the primetime games and that they actually win.
Can I state one thing that I don't like about the other side of this really holding against it? One, there were 2 roughing the passer penalties yesterday. One had no bearing. 0 on the result of the play. The Chiefs scored a touchdown, and then he got 15 yards closer on an extra point. Okay, who cares? And then the other one sustained a drive that eventually led to a touchdown for the Falcons. They had decidedly different outcomes. But the thing I don't understand is, let's just say they called a pass interference and it's first and goal from the 1. First, they're not guaranteed a touchdown there. I would say touchdown 90% of the time, but they're not guaranteed a touchdown there, especially because they're down 2 starting offensive linemen and the run game was non-existent. So I'll give them an 80% chance they score a touchdown in one of the 3 plays there, and they don't just kick a field goal and they're still down. Okay, 80% chance. Then I got to couple that with the only 50% chance they have of getting the 2-point conversion and actually going up 3. So maybe total.
Plus the Chiefs get the ball still. It's not like the game is over.
Exactly. Maybe total. A 40%, 35% chance, statistically 30% chance that they're up by the best case scenario. They score a touchdown and they are up by 3. 30% chance. In that scenario, the Chiefs still have 4 minutes and 3 timeouts to go get a score. 3 points, mind you, by the way, with Harrison Butker as their kicker. I'm sorry, what is that, an 80% chance? I mean, pretend like somehow what was left in the game had no bearing. And that even though they didn't get the call there, the Falcons still possessed the ball with enough time to score a touchdown to get a win. And what couldn't they do? That. They were still given second life after losing out on that penalty to go win that football game, and they couldn't do it. So, I don't feel bad when we wake up and the Chiefs always manage to get it done in that situation statistically versus we're just ignoring that there was 4 minutes left to go and 3 timeouts.
Yeah, anytime the Chiefs are going to be the standalone game, every game in the NFL we've seen with officiating over the last probably 20 years, every game is going to have a call that was incorrect. That's the sad reality of officiating when you have the human element of the game. Missed calls are going to happen on both sides, but only one team is getting acknowledged for it because they're the team that's winning. And that's how it works in sports a lot of times. And so this is not ending anytime soon. This will not be the last time that we see. This is not the last time that we see people try to claim that the Chiefs are getting every single call. And I went back and forth with somebody yesterday that is in the media but not a Chiefs fan and just kind of they claim unbiased, but we'll see. And they're like, how come you guys don't just embrace them? Like, I think everybody, we've said, embrace the hate that exists in the NFL towards this city now, frankly, and this football team. But at the same time, I'm not just going to let you make up stuff, and that's kind of where I'm at on this whole thing. Like, we can, embrace the hate. People don't want to.
But I'm not
going to
let you feed false statistics to me and then pretend like they're real.
Really smart people, that use numbers on a daily basis for their own content, that are really good at what they do, and yet they still push this out when they know deep down there are numbers that debunk every single thing they put out. The roughing the passer is the one that always pisses me off because everybody acts like Mahomes gets more roughing the passer. There are clear numbers. Anybody can pull them up. It takes 30 seconds to do that. You look at over the last 5 years, roughing the passer penalties, and Mahomes is towards the bottom, as in they don't actually get called for them.
It's also just bringing it up yesterday is so disingenuous. He scored a touchdown on the play. It had no bearing on the result. Meanwhile, there was a player you and I spoke about the first couple of weeks, and I thought fairly, based on how slow of a start I felt like and we felt like they were having this season. Nick Bolton. Somebody had said yesterday, well, you better talk. Like, why wouldn't I? I'm not offended to say something good about someone just because I've been critical of their play before. Nick Bolton was one of the 3 best defensive players on the field yesterday. Not only did he save the game on the 4th down stop, obviously, in which the game was over because Nick Bolton made the tackle, he had 3 tackles for loss. You didn't see him in pass coverage. It wasn't like he was getting picked on by the tight ends. They had the one big play to Kyle Pitts, and outside of that, weren't calling tight ends names all day. Nick Bolton was everywhere in that game yesterday. It was his best game of the season. He was fantastic.
He was terrific. He really was. And, he had a rough first 2 weeks, so the criticism, I think, was warranted at the time. But we saw why he has made a name for himself in the league, why he has become a player that, while I think in Kansas City, in a weird way now, suddenly less appreciated by some than he is in other markets. I mean, Chris Collinsworth was praising the heck out of him even before he was having the game that he was having. So I think he's maybe viewed more highly outside the market by fans than in this market for whatever reason. And I think it's the frustration with the coverage stuff. But when it comes to the run game and being a thumper, that's his bread and butter. And we saw that last night, that one particular play at the end, sure, but throughout the entire game, that's as good as it gets. I mean, that's the type of performance that you can only dream about getting from a linebacker that plays the role he has. Yes. And I still think we downplay the fact that he is the green dot that he is orchestrating the entire defense. Whenever he's not out there, it is a much bigger loss than, oh, well, they'll just have Leo Chanel or Jack Cochran, no disrespect to them. We'll just have them out in coverage. There's a lot more to it than just that.
Somebody has to make the call
when Nick Bolton's not on the field. So he deserves the praise he's getting today, hopefully, that he is getting. He certainly got it last night. Because it wasn't a great 2 weeks, but he was sensational last night, and he was also banged up too. He was
cramps. What was he fighting? He was holding his back or hip the entire time?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't want to make
Jalen Watson and Nick Bolton were hurt on that final drive, but they came back in final 2 or 3 plays or whatever when it mattered most. Which is, look, I'm not saying they're the first football player that's ever battled through injury, but still, that was key to see, and it really impressive stuff from Nick Bolton.
Yeah, it was his. It's why people have gotten to like him in Kansas City. It doesn't erase, maybe some of the deficiencies in his game. There'll be other teams that try to take advantage of that. But the Falcons, obviously, they have Bijan Robinson and they have Tyler Algier. And Kirk Cousins has not found his rhythm inside the offense yet. I still think there's time on that. I think he's recovering from an injury and he's in a new offense with new weapons. Yeah, you're not going to want to face the Falcons nearly as much in Week 9. Maybe I'm off on this team. Maybe we're both off on this team. But I'm pretty sure by Week 9, you're not going to really like facing Atlanta when those things are clicking for them. And they do have weapons, and you can see why they would be dangerous. But they try to go to the run game. They had 17 carries for Bijan Robinson. He went for less than 40 yards. Now, we'll talk more about the defense as a whole coming up in a little bit, but that's attributed to Nick Bolton. I'll give him a lot of credit, and I told you on Friday, we talked a little bit about him. It really rang true to me when I was the Chiefs locker room covering Derek Johnson, and he was coming back from that, I think, Achilles, when he was coming back from the final injury, and he had made it very clear to say the last thing to come back is your eyes. You're always a lot slower as a linebacker. When you first get back, you're first back from injury, it is hard to be as aggressive as you're used to being. Well, it didn't look like that for Bolton on Friday, did it? Looked like he had his eyes back. Yeah. He got faster to the spot than he has all season long.
Yeah, Derek Johnson was on the morning show today, but he was on the show as he is every Monday. Last Monday, that's exactly what he brought up, Cody, what you said there. That when Derek Johnson was talking about, he was asked about Nick Bolton from Dusty and Bob, basically like, hey, is he all right? Like, what's going on? One, he said, yeah, he's going to be fine, but he acknowledged that he thinks maybe that's something that has to improve, and this was a huge game for that. And you brought up the tight ends, and it's interesting because for a second, like, oh boy, here we go again. The 150, yeah. But honestly, it was the 150-yard reception where they really got him, and that was Justin Reed, I think, in coverage there.
It was.
And after that, Kyle Pitts ended up with 59 yards, 2 catches, 59 yards. So
one more catch for 9 yards.
Actually, for the first time all year, I don't think it's even fair to say, oh, the tight ends got the best of him. No, it was 1 catch for 50 yards. I disagree.
And they originally called a hold on Bijan Robinson and picked up the flag.
They did. They waved it off. That's right.
In retrospect. Right. And look, again, this is not – I think in the middle, like, we keep a live update of, like, the things we're watching in the game. In the middle of the game when these penalties are getting called long before the final play, I had said, God, some of this officiating is brutal. And I put in there a particular note that said – I'm never going to blame this for the win or the loss, but that was a missed holding call on Bijan Robinson. He definitely held.
Probably. Yeah, probably. But again, that's the point.
Who cares? Calls get missed.
Going back to what we said before, every single NFL game has a call that is missed, or 2 or 3 or 4. You hope that it's not that many, but that's usually what we see, and it's what team takes advantage of the break that they get. And nobody, as we started the show with, nobody takes advantage of the break that you might get than the Chiefs. So it feels like they get more breaks. It's that. I mean, it's that simple to
23
me.
carries for 63 yards is all they ended up with because of Nick Bolton. So I'll give them all the credit in the world.
We're just getting started here on a Victory Monday. We want to hear from you throughout the show, as always, on the J Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. That's also the phone line as well, 913-586-7965. In 10 minutes, we will talk about the Royals, and it's gone sad. It really has. It's gotten sad here, losing 7 in a row. Final 6 games of the season. We're going to talk about if there's any chance they get out of this thing. But as of right now, they still occupy a playoff spot. Meanwhile, one other note in the NFL, it's important because the Chiefs quickly do have to turn the page after a Sunday night game. They're going to be out in L.A. on Sunday to take on the Chargers. And going into the game, we knew that there was a chance Justin Herbert would not play, and it could have been Taylor Heineke or Easton Stick because of a high ankle sprain to go with the plantar fasciitis he was already dealing with during training camp. We're like, maybe they're not going to play him. They chose to play him, and unfortunately he re-aggravated or just continued to have the same issue with a high ankle sprain, and so he's probably going to be questionable for this game at best on Sunday, and that's why the Chiefs are like 8.5-point favorites already for this game.
He left in a boot. This So as much as I would give Harbaugh credit, because I do think that the Chargers had adopted the Harbaugh mentality, man. They were running the ball. They were playing physical defense. They were getting wins because of it. This was old tough guy football nonsense, and it's going to cost them not one, but 2 football games instead. This was coaching malpractice. They knew going into the game that they were going to let Justin Herbert talk his way onto the field, even though he had a high ankle sprain. This is not the playoffs. This is not Mahomes' high ankle sprain a year ago, 2 years ago. It's not the playoffs. It's not the wild card round. He doesn't have to force it or play through it. And instead he did, and not just did, against the number 1 defense in the NFL and TJ Watt. I'm sorry, but how the hell did you think that was going to go? You thought he was just going to stay upright and never get hurt against the number 1 defensive line in the league? It's coaching malpractice. So now Justin Herbert's hurt, and it's a pretty good chance the Chiefs are going to get Taylor Heineke on Sunday, I think. He left in a boot. You think he's playing Sunday?
Well, I think it's unlikely at this point. It's, as we know, though, it's amazing what they can do during a week when you have training staff and doctors 24/7 basically able to get you right for that game on Sunday. So I don't think you can say he's for sure out, but it seems unlikely as we sit on a Monday based off of how that went down. They didn't rule him out of the game ever. It was weird. He was always listed as questionable during the game. They never actually said he was officially out. They just continue to roll with Taylor Heineke. But that's a huge blow for obvious reasons. If, in fact, the Chiefs don't have to take on Justin Herbert, it's already a Chargers team that I wasn't sold on to begin with. And now they lost to Pittsburgh, and now maybe they come back down to earth and lose a couple in a row, and everybody can calm down with Harbaugh Coach of the Year stuff.
Yeah, it's bad.
That, by the way, is going to belong to Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota.
You think? The 3-0 Minnesota Vikings
Sam Darnold,
just took down.
Sam Darnold, he's going to get himself another job after this season.
Yeah, he is. Because they already drafted J.J. McCarthy. Even they weren't even full believers in Sam Darnold because they drafted a quarterback.
There was always a chance that Darnold was going to start week 1 or 2 or something like that and then transition to McCarthy. But as we know, once McCarthy went down in preseason, it was Sam Darnold's team. And to his credit, he's looked great.
He has.
And they beat up on the Texans. That was not a competitive game. They were throughout. They beat up on C.J. Stroud. He made some mistakes early on. We'll talk more rest of the AFC throughout the week.
Yeah, it probably will be O'Connell. But I had said, and this was not hindsight, going into the game, you can beat Pittsburgh with Taylor Heineke. Because Pittsburgh's only going to put 17 on you, 20 on you. They're not world beaters offensively. They're not going to bury you. You can play some gross, grinded out football game and actually beat Pittsburgh if you're the Chargers. But knowing that the team who has won the division for 9 straight, is it 9 straight, 8 straight? Whatever.
8, I think we're up to 8.
I
know it's hard to keep track. I understand.
There's just so many numbers for the Chiefs. I just get confused on them. How many straight AFC title games in it? How many Super Bowls in it?
Let's do
this. Let's erase this and we'll put it over there.
We have a whiteboard in the corner of the room. It still has our weight loss challenge competition from
erase that.
2 or 3 years ago. I think we clean the whiteboard and we write any notable, basically any accolade and notable streak that is currently alive for the Chiefs. Let's just put it up there for reference for everybody and simplify it. It's getting really confusing,
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of them. How many Super Bowls in how many years?
Really
how many
tough.
straight AFC title games? How many straight AFC West titles? But the point is, for as many consecutive AFC West titles as they have won, and you've got them in your building in the early part of the season where you're having success, why would you risk it? Why would you risk Justin Herbert in that moment? And again, if it's the Panthers, maybe don't risk it at all. But against that defensive line, no. Don't send your man out for the slaughter. And I wouldn't want the Chiefs doing that either. If it were a divisional game the following week and they were taking on let's say the identical team. They take on the Steelers, right? They take on the Steelers on Christmas Day.
They do.
Let's say the following week, I don't remember who they have, but let's I don't remember their.
That'd be in the middle of a 10-game stretch or a 3 games in 11-day stretch.
Yeah. Okay, so the game before, right? It's the game after they got the Chargers again. Don't play them on Christmas Day. Carson Wentz, welcome to the game, man. If he has an ankle sprain, why would you risk it? I understand, and you have nothing on the line in week 3. You're not fighting for the division yet. You're not fighting for the playoffs. You're not fighting for seeding. Nothing. It's week 3. Risk it for 1 week and keep your guy healthy. I was surprised.
Coming up next, though, we do talk a little Royals baseball. It is the final week of the season. They have lost 7 in a row. We're going to talk this one out together next.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Calling all Kansas City football fans to downtown Las Vegas. Join us at Circa Resort and Casino this October for the ultimate game day getaway. Huddle up at Overhang Bar with 96.5 The Fan for our pregame tailgates on Fridays with drink specials and giveaways, including a pair of game day tickets. Then catch all the action at the world's largest sportsbook or lounge in the center of it all at America's favorite place to watch football, Stadium Swim, featuring 6 pools and a massive 143-foot screen. To book your Huddle Up experience, visit CircaLasVegas.com today.
I've been playing sports all my life. Little football, basketball, pickleball, cross training, mud events, Spartan races and things like that.
For Dr. Eric Williams, a successful chiropractor, staying active means everything. So when nagging knee pain slowed him down, he didn't want drugs or invasive surgery. He found a natural way to get lasting relief. QC Kinetics Cellular Therapies.
We're using my body's natural abilities to get better. And that's huge. In time, that's going to be the way of the future. Using your own body's ability to heal. Now I can play day to day and not have that severe pain.
Now he's back out there doing what he loves, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Life is good. You're not going to slow me down.
Leave the pain behind and get moving. Book your free consultation today with QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan. One show, one stage, one night.
Do not ask my wife any questions. If I want to know something, I listen in when she is talking on the phone to other people.
Jerry Seinfeld and Jim Gaffigan.
The reality is, a marching band can take a song, it's pretty impressive, any song, and ruin it.
Saturday, January 18th, T-Mobile Center. Reserve seats on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at T-MobileCenter.com.
Is your everyday congestion preventing you from enjoying life's big moments? Try Vicks Sinex Saline today and get yourself back in the action. Vicks Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion with a gentle ultrafine mist. Sinex Saline's drug-free, no-mess formula instantly moisturizes and soothes dry, irritated nasal passages for quick and effective relief. Get back to enjoying life's big moments to the fullest without having to worry about everyday congestion holding you back. Just Sinex, breathe, use as directed.
With Labor Day savings at the Home Depot, you can get up to $1,500 off select appliances from top brands like LG, America's most reliable line of appliances, like the LG Smart Top Load Washer with easy unload angled front, so you can reach every last sock. Right now, get up to $1,500 off select appliances in-store and online with Labor Day savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid August 22nd through September 11th. U.S. only. See store online for details. America's most reliable line of appliances per independent study.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius, or two half geniuses, and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It takes a lot to prepare for game day as a dedicated fan, and preparing the perfect tailgate meal might be most important of all. That's why Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise is the MVP. Hellmann's Mayonnaise is the secret to bring out the rich and creamy taste to all your game day dishes, from buffalo chicken dip to your favorite sub sandwich and everything in between. So give it a try, and mayo game day be delicious with Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. Shop at your local Walmart, Kroger, or grocery store, and add some extra deliciousness to your game day dishes this football season.
What if I told you that there was a single management software that could handle your CRM, accounting, manufacturing, marketing, inventory, sales, and everything in between for a fraction of the cost of the dozens of disconnected platforms most companies rely on to manage their business? Sounds pretty good, right? Well, that's Odoo. Odoo is the end-all be-all for any business of any size, and it's ready to help your company reach the next level and beyond. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call.
If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add any base. Ends Labor Day. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Your coworkers might annoy you, but we promise we won't. Download the free Odyssey app and you can listen to us at work while you tackle your inbox or get ready for another meeting that probably could have been an email. Tune in late? You can rewind your favorite live shows to catch what you missed. And with Chapters, easily jump to the topics that you care about most, like the latest updates from your team. Your sports talk, your way. The Odyssey app. Download it today.
I was going through our system during the break. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll have a highlight coming back of the Royals.
Oh. I was like, there's plenty of Chiefs highlights in there.
And I'll be honest.
Like maybe the Connor pick?
The Royals, we know they've lost 7 in a row. The highlights I can choose from are either sack flies or just random defensive gems. And that's another sign of what is, in case the 7-game losing streak wasn't obvious enough, of where this team is at. This is it, man. 6 games to go.
Actively in a playoff spot. Would you like to say something nice first?
Yes.
If the playoffs were to start today, would the Royals be in the playoffs?
They would. They would. I wish I wish the season ended today because that's how nervous I am about this.
You should be.
How can you not? Look, 2 weeks ago, someone asked us, hey, do you guys really think they're making the playoffs? And I was like, definitively, yes. Admittedly, I did not think a 7-game losing streak was on the horizon with games at home during said 7-game losing streak. I did not think with the Giants coming to town that would also be part of the losing streak or that the Tigers would sweep the Royals. No, I did not think that was going to happen. And yet here we are. And it's gotten to the point where it's one thing, there's anger for sure, I think, from a lot of people. But it's sad. It's really sad because we know what this season overall has been, right? It's been an unbelievable ride for this team. Bobby Wood Jr.'s in the MVP conversation. Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo are all-star game pitchers. One of them should have been the starter. All of that makes this even sadder because they're having some historical things happen. A lot of it positive, and unfortunately, they are trending for a historical collapse.
The reason why I didn't think they'd ever miss the playoffs is for the same stats I gave you. It's like, well, they're going to have to go 7-2, and the Royals go 2-7. Well, all that's happened. Now those numbers don't matter anymore. I was dead wrong on that because, again, and I don't think even the most pessimistic fan I was talking to at that time thought 7 more losses in a row were coming after the previous 7-game losing streak. So, yeah, if the playoffs started today, they'd be in the postseason. And they do hold some tiebreakers in this scenario that if they finish with the same record, they'll be there. And thank God the Minnesota Twins are playing equally awful baseball as them. Not the Tigers. Tigers are playing great. But equally awful baseball as the Royals, currently as it sits, is the Minnesota Twins. But you better get a win tomorrow. We can't keep doing this. I asked yesterday on social media, right after they lost again, and I honestly was trying to think about it. So I was like, okay, what is a sacrifice this show can make? What is something we can do in order to help the Royals win? And people go with the obvious, right? We get Joe Boo his rum. We bring in a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. We burn some sage. We hold a seance. I don't care, right? Talk to the dead. Whatever we need to do in order to get this team back on the winning ways. And I thought about all these things. We could bring it on a Monday, bring it on a Tuesday, try to snap out of it. And then I decided it was my own personal thing to try to give up something. It's like Lent. I got to give up something for the Royals to snap out of this. And while what I've seen, and I appreciate the support, the Royals were 6-6 under my songs. They were 1-6 in the week before. They were 0-6 now or 0-3 in the 3 games following this song. So I was 500. Was it the best song? I was 500. Better than what they've been.
You guaranteed they were going to make it. The whole song was about them making it.
I know, but I have to make a personal sacrifice, I think, in order to do this. So while I think my normal attitude...
You're going to pay off your bet finally.
What my normal attitude would be is that I would try to make a song to once again resurrect this team. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a personal sacrifice. And I'm going to promise you no song. And that the Royals themselves will get this win. I will bypass making a song, even though I want to. Very tempted. I appreciate the support of the people who say that they're going to do it. I'm going to... They're still going to make it holds. And it's going to hold. And this team is going to make the postseason, even though I'm terrified right now of what's been taking place over the last week of baseball. Because it's been bleak. Really bleak. Honestly, this can't hit. You want to know the truth? This can't hit.
Yeah.
Pitching's not been the problem. This can't hit. Can't buy a hit. Salvador Perez comes up with the bases loaded yesterday in a 2-0 game where they pitched their hearts out. And you're like, please, Salvi, just one down the line for old time's sake. Just one over the fence for me today. Nothing.
They got nothing right now, man. They got nothing at the plate whatsoever. What's weird is like the starting pitching actually hadn't been bad, but it doesn't matter. Like, remember the time when we were like, man, just you got to get really good starting pitching tonight to make sure to support that offense. Starting pitching carrying this team. Well, we have found out that as great as the starting pitching has been, when your offense literally has nothing going for it, doesn't matter. You could have Seth Lugo with Greg Maddux, with Pedro Martinez out there right now. It doesn't matter.
Back to back.
It doesn't matter right now. That's not the issue. They have nothing offensively whatsoever. They are one of the worst offensive teams post the injury of Vinny Pasquantino. And clearly, they would not be on a 7-game losing streak if Vinny was in the lineup, his 100 RBI, et cetera. However, I still don't know how one loss has destroyed the entire lineup. Just destroyed it. There was a week stretch where Tommy Pham, that was fun for a little while.
Yeah.
Leading off, right? That was really fun. It got to the point where they're trying anything. Adam Frazier was leading off the other day because you know what? Why not? Why not? And try anything. That's where we're at, and it comes at the worst possible time. As we said last week, they had their first home sweep of the season. They got swept for the first time at home all year in that Tigers series. And, of course, then it continued with another sweep, getting swept by the San Francisco Giants. Like, all of this, it could not happen at a worse time. Teams have struggles, but to have 2 7-game losing streaks in a month span, basically, is devastating. The fact that they're still in the playoffs as of right this second is amazing, honestly.
Spoke to the start to the season that they still had, honestly. The lead that they had built up, the cushion that they had given themselves. And thank God they did. Because, I mean, it's not surprising to me they're struggling offensively. Because Bobby's in a bit of a lull. I'm not worried about Bobby. He's just in a bit of a lull. Salvi's in a bit of a lull. And when you get those two guys, look at what they're rolling out every day. Every day, Adam Frazier's in the lineup. Every day, Yuli Gurriel is in the lineup.
And he's been one of their better hitters.
He was on the street. Every day, Tommy Pham, who was on the street, is in the order. They've got 4 guys actively in their lineup, like Grossman, who were plucked off of the damn street and are making starts every day in their lineup. And the reason why is because none of the young hitters have forced them to start him every day. That's the bigger problem for me. It's that Michael and MJ and those guys haven't forced your hand. That you can't keep starting Yuli Gurriel. You got to play these young guys, and you got to force them into this action. And you got to make the decision for them. And because of that, they're so thin lineup-wise, they just can't score.
And that's where it's like I disagree. For like everybody bears responsibility for how this team is playing. Everybody, front office, manager, the players, most importantly, everybody bears responsibility for what is looking like an epic collapse. Unfortunately, unless they figure something out, not soon, as in now, as in tomorrow, and it might already be too late. We'll see if they can recover with 6 games to go. But to your point about the line, this is where like I don't put a huge chunk of it, though, on Q because you just laid it out there. Like, what do you want the lineup to look like? What do you want at this point them to do from the players have to go out and play, man.
Someone has to
And
hit.
you're right that you would love to be able to have Michael and MJ and these guys in the lineup, but we're long past just give them another chance period of time. Like, they have had MJ Melendez and Michael Garcia, whether it was this year or last year, have had plenty of opportunities to go out there and and basically earn it or go out there and show you and evaluate all that. We did that all last year and earlier on this season. We've already done that. So it is now like anything you can have. Maybe the veterans can handle the pressure more kind of thing. I don't know. But there's no bad ideas anymore. I don't care. There are no bad ideas when you have 6 to go, when you've lost 7 in a row, and when you are a loss away from being not eliminated, but out of a playoff spot with, at that point, 5 to go. So you get the Nationals, a pesky Nationals team who, fortunately for the Royals, just sent down one of their best players because he was on a heater at the roulette table till 8 a.m. the night before a game, and so they sent him down to the minors.
That's an incredible
We got to get to that story later. Unbelievable. I got a couple thoughts on that. C.J. Abrams I'm talking about. So they actually get a break that one of their better players will not be playing the Royals. Maybe that's what we need.
I need anything.
Anything is
I need him
on
to
the
not
table.
show up. I need him to forfeit tonight or tomorrow night. Just whatever it takes in order to get there. And
Someone says, why are we holding to a high standard? They lost 100 games. Okay, so they won 56 games last year.
Because it's September and I watched them play the
for 2.5, 3 months, they've been in a playoff position, and now they're losing 7 in a row, and they've lost combined 2 losing streaks of 14 in a row in a month. That's why. There still has to be some sort of expectation when you're there, right? Otherwise, weeks and weeks and weeks from now, you can step back and say, man, that was a huge sign of improvement for the organization. That's all true. I said that last week. But right now, to just act like it's not a big deal because they've lost 7 in a row and might be in jeopardy of missing the playoffs, how can you say that's not a big deal? They are truly on the verge of one of the worst collapses to miss the playoffs after where they're at. And we've seen a long time in baseball.
Certainly their franchise's history, but one of the worst ones. They had one of the single greatest turnarounds in baseball history, and now they're following it up by possibly from a win-loss perspective and then possibly missing. At least they're still in the playoff spot today. I'll take the small
What's
victory.
What's the percentage on the so-called
68.
projection sites?
Baseball Reference puts them at 68.4%. They were at 90% a week ago. So they've dropped over 20% in a week. They still favor them over Minnesota. They favor Detroit now.
Well, the Tigers are making the playoffs. Said it last Friday, I think we did, or Thursday.
But they put them at 72%.
The Tigers are going to make the playoffs. It really is whether or not the Royals hold off the Twins. Who's going to suck more or less, however you want to phrase it, over the next 6 games? Is it the Royals or is it going to be the Twins? The team that sucks less over the next 6 is going to somehow make the playoffs.
You said no bad ideas. Over on YouTube, somebody said, what's Zach Greinke up to? Not for pitching. I just want to see if maybe he could hit this upcoming weekend. Very good hitting pitcher,
Yeah.
Wants to get that one more stolen base. Anything's possible. Back to the Chiefs for at least a little bit.
Can we get more positive?
Yeah. And not just Chiefs. Let's talk positive Chiefs. Not only are they 3-0, we all underestimated what Rashee Rice was turning into right before our very eyes. I thought I was being optimistic when I told you the week before the season. I thought Rashee Rice was a 1,200-yard wide receiver going into the year. But after last night, another massive performance in which they had no answer for him. He leads the league in yards after catch. He leads in forced missed tackles. He is, by all account, the Chiefs' #1 receiving threat in which
100%.
nobody can guard. Rashee Rice is getting better. That should scare the rest of the league. We talked about life after Travis Kelce. We can get to him in a minute, but I mean, if this is what Rashee Rice is going to turn into, well, I'm not going to fear that all that much, am I?
No, we've seen the improvement. We absolutely have seen the improvement. I also think what's happening with this is specifically the Falcons, who play more zone than most teams in the NFL. If you're going to give any bit of cushion to Rashee Rice, like he's going to feast on you, and Travis Kelce used to do that. And I think what we're seeing a little bit, we'll talk about Kelce more next hour, but we're starting to see a lot of those, settling down kind of in the zone and finding the open space. Rashee Rice has credited Travis Kelce, learning from him on that. I think he's started to learn from the master a little bit on how to do that, settle into space. They also had, 5 design wide receiver screens at least to Rashee Rice, where Juju was out there blocking. I think that was an underrated trait of when they brought back Juju. We didn't really acknowledge. I get it. He's a receiver, so we think stats, and he did have a touchdown yesterday. But Juju is one of the better blocking wide receivers in the league, and that's why the wide receiver screen was working last night, setting it up for Rashee Rice. And got to be really impressed with the development for Rice. And I think he is getting a lot of the same opportunities that we once said Travis Kelce was getting. And that is for a variety of reasons happening. The question with Rice, I always worry about a player that suddenly is getting career highs and targets and receptions. The only concern is, of course, durability. And last night, I'm assuming he just got the wind knocked out of him. That was, for a brief second, it was a scare, but he walked off and it looked like maybe he just got the wind knocked out of him. But that's the only concern I would have with him is like he's taken way more hits than he's ever had at the NFL level. So they got it's the hey right now he's their best option. Got to feed him, keep on feeding him. It's a long season.
But I don't want to see.
It's a long season. They got to get at some point later on Travis going again or something.
Like his new peak now is at the end of the season. You could make an argument that he's like right now if you just wanted to. It's early in a season, so people typically wouldn't start these conversations up. You could make an argument right now he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. There's only a handful of guys you would definitively take over them, and that's because they have like 3 or 4 years of a proven track record. Everyone else, I can make whatever argument I want. He's second in the NFL in catches. He's second in the NFL in total yards. He's got 2 touchdowns through 3 games. I told you he's on pace for 130 yards and 1,600 yards, or 130 catches and 1,600 yards. I don't think he'll finish that high because he's obviously coming off that massive game last night, but he has taken, I told you I thought he was going to take a leap. He's been even better than I thought because what's changed is his ability to understand and know the offense has made him so much more immediately dynamic this season than last year and because I do think the attention Travis Kelce takes, they're still letting him kind of work on his own. And when you work on your own, you can be open a lot.
And I think Mahomes trusts him. Last year he's still a rookie. You don't know much. You don't know about that relationship and trusting. And now you're into your second year in the league, and whether it's the offseason, Pat camp, whatever it may be, I think that factors in. There's a lot of different things that go into it. The Travis part is just so interesting because that was a huge storyline during the game last night on the broadcast, and there was a concerted effort right in the second half at the beginning to give him the ball. But at some point, what are teams going to choose? They're going to keep sticking 2 guys on Travis?
They're going to choose Rice.
I mean, when does that adjust? What team is going to say, all right, that's enough?
Now.
Maybe the primetime game helps. They all watch film, but maybe that's the stage that he needed again to just go off against the Falcons. At some point, are the Chargers this week, or maybe it's the Saints in a couple weeks? Who's going to say, all right, that's enough? We're going to make life much more challenging for Rice. He still might get us because, to your point, he just might be one of those guys now in the league. But he's still going to get us. But no, we're going to either make Kelce prove that he can still do it, or we're going to make Worthy or Juju or somebody else. Because at some point, teams are not going to, especially if you're playing zone like the Falcons. I mean, it's too easy for Rice.
With the biggest problem with that is, imagine this is why I actually don't think it'll be this week. I actually think it'll be like 4 weeks from now. Because imagine sitting in a defensive meeting room, having faced the Chiefs for the last decade straight, and trying to convince your defensive coaching staff, be like, hey, guys, let's just see what would happen if Travis Kelce beat us this week. And be like, excuse me? Hey, idiot, what did you just say? Did you just say, let's see if they can beat us using Travis Kelce? That's how they've been beating us
this is the beautiful thing.
Time.
This is the beautiful thing if you're the Chiefs, though, that you're developing. Mahomes spoke on this a little bit in postgame last night down in Atlanta, is that as the season, we're still only 3 weeks into this dang thing. And later on in the year, whether it's a week from now or 2 months from now, you're going to cause more problems for the opponent. If Rice doing this now, Worthy even in week 1 doing what he did, like that, those are all things that are making it more challenging for your opponent as the season goes on. At some point, somebody else is going to have a bigger game. Hell, Carson Steele, for his rookie debut.
Nice game.
He held his own, right? He held his own, effective.
And it was a split through the half, and then they just went all Carson Steele?
Well, when you don't have an established back, you go with the hot hand every single time, and that was Carson Steele yesterday.
No, it was, again, Rashee Rice is going to make everything on the offense easier because the guy we're not talking about that also gets to be the beneficiary is Xavier Worthy. There's a reason why he's standing in the end zone, kind of open deep. Mahomes underthrew the ball a little bit, but it's like that had a chance to be a deep touchdown. Mahomes leads him a little bit more. Worthy comes back to get the whatever, right? There's a million ways where that ends up as a touchdown, and he's open downfield by himself with one other guy guarding him because you got to focus on Rice and Kelce because they're still going to choose Worthy last. Even with his speed, they're going to choose him last. It's going to be guys like Justin Watson, who just standing by himself there on that 1 3rd down. He makes one catch a game when
I
you
still
just
think
need it.
Mahomes basically pump faked them open. I mean, that play, Mahomes 3 pump fakes. And eventually, Justin Watson, going back to the relationship that exists when you have someone on the team for multiple years, like he knows what he's supposed. Like you
can watch the defenders follow the pump fakes. It's not even that hard to diagnose when you're you just watch them go.
But I think that play compared to late in the game when Worthy stops running is the example of when you're in this offense more and you understand what Mahomes is looking for helps because Worthy at the end of the game pretty clearly should have kept running. He stops on the route, and that's why I was like, what the hell happened there? It was incomplete. Whereas Justin Watson, different route, I understand. But the point is that that's a play that Worthy is not going to make that mistake again now. My guess is Worthy is going to make sure he now knows if he didn't before.
I want you to keep running.
Yeah.
Which is small, but also makes a big difference.
It could have cost him the game, though.
We'll
They
take
had a punt right after that.
We'll take some of your calls in the next segment at 11 o'clock. So if you want to get on the phone line now, 913-586-7965. We'd love to take your calls on what you think about the Chiefs' 3-0 start here on a Victory Monday. As the Chiefs once again starting 3-0, 9 wins in a row, feeling good about it again. One player, we talked about Rashee Rice's development. How about Shamari Connors? That was another kind of standout game for him. We said the best game he had all last year was in the Super Bowl. He looked pretty damn good yesterday, not just because he got the pick because of the Turk Wharton pressure, by the way, another player we could almost do a standalone topic on. Turk Wharton, who made the pressure. But Connor gets the pick. He's making tackles. They're using him against tight ends. Like, Jamari Connor is a real weapon. What I like about him is they always seem to find yet another versatile guy. Sometimes use him in coverage. Sometimes use him in blitz game. Sometimes use him in the run game. Connor's just kind of a little bit of everywhere all over the field. That's what makes him work so well.
Yeah, he was impressive again. That's 2 games in a row in particular where you've seen the athleticism really stand out. I think they just love the versatility. He literally, whatever Spags needs him to do, he can do it. And we know, look at the course of time since Spags has been here. There's always been one player every year that they will line up just about everywhere in the secondary. And when it comes to disguising blitzes, when it actually blitzing, whatever it may be, where Spags is able to have kind of one do everything type of guy. It was L'Jarius Sneed for a couple years until he developed into just an ultimate shutdown corner. But for a while, that was Sneed. McDuffie was for a little bit was that kind of guy. Now I think we're finding out that Shamari Connor is going to be that player in this defense for Spags.
Yeah, I think
Line him up everywhere, basically. You don't know where the hell he's coming from. Last week last week against Cincinnati, he's going to be shot out of a cannon and blitz your ass. This week, they're going to drop him back a little bit. He was in the right spot, right time.
Sure.
Turk Wharton, as you pointed out, led to that interception. And then he just had the wherewithal also to flip it to, was that Jalen Watson he flipped it to?
Nobody flips the ball more than the Chiefs. They love a good lateral, don't they?
That's fun,
They got an extra 15 yards out of it, I think. Maybe
I don't know if it was 15 or whatever, but it helped them because they hopefully get that. There was 32 seconds left after that interception in the lateral, and they end up kicking a field goal, if I'm not mistaken, right before half. So it helped them get a little bit closer for Butker, who, as long as it's not an extra point, man, he's automatic. It's unreal.
19 missed extra points. So what a weird storyline that is for his NFL career. But with Connor, I'd love it. So I think he's a really good player. I think he's a great fit. Jaden Hicks looks good when he comes into all that stuff, right? But there is a point in me that's like, I don't think all of these guys are exceptional blitzers. I just think Spags is better.
Yeah, he's the
at
best.
Designing
he's
blitzes
the best in the game, man.
Than anyone else in the league. Because it'll be like, oh no, Sneed's leaving. He's our blitz guy. Or Tyrann Mathieu leaving. He's our blitz guy. And Tyrann Mathieu had a nice resurgence over there in New Orleans.
He's got 3 picks or something
Yeah,
this year.
Tyrann Mathieu leaves. He's their blitz guy. Doesn't matter. Now it's L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed leaves. No, it's just somebody else. They're better at getting that secondary pass rush where not only do they send one blitzer and you pick it up, it's the blitzer behind that blitzer that seemingly gets these teams all the time. They fool them every single time.
He's the best at just disguising blitzes. Like late in the game, everybody knew they were going. It was cover 0. They were bringing the house. And the Falcons knew that was coming, and it still didn't matter. But there are other times in the game where in particular, Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Right? That strip sack that he gets, he ran free, completely free, nobody in his way. And you know why that happened? Because of the way they schemed it with Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
So FAU, props to him. He made the play, right? He deserves credit for that.
Yeah.
But,
great sack force fumble. First full sack.
Untouched, man. Completely untouched.
You are 9 more sacks away from having to shave your head? Is that what it was? I don't even remember now.
Yes.
10 sacks, isn't that what you said?
Yeah, 10 sacks for Felix.
So... One sack.
I feel like you should join me on that too, since I've actually been way more patient, I'll use as a word, than Felix
but I'll say that
Felix than you have.
I've never written him off or said to write him off. I just
you didn't like the pick from day one.
Yeah. So that makes me less optimistic as time goes on, but I know he went unblocked. So I could be the knock guy, be like, wow, congrats. You got a sack when nobody blocked you. That's not necessary.
And don't say you could do it because we saw your hot dog derby performance. You can't even win a hot dog derby race.
I'm not. I definitely wasn't going to say.
We'll get to that during Trash of the Day today.
Trash of the Day?
Yeah, it's going to be Trash of the Day.
You're just making it Trash of the Day?
I'm making your derby race where you're now 0-4 Trash of the Day. I'll already tell people.
We'll talk about that then. As I guess a tease for that. But I wasn't going to say I could do it. But I'm not going to knock him. Your job on that, his job on that is to go untouched to the quarterback and get to him. What did he do? He got to the quarterback. He forced a fumble. Like, he did everything he was supposed to do on that play. I'm not going to knock guys because it got easier sometimes. Sometimes it's supposed to be easy. I get more frustrated with the players that when it's supposed to be easy, they screw it up, right? Because plenty of players do that. Ball's right in your hand, and there's nothing but room to run, and then you can't make the play. Felix, on a play where he was unblocked, forced a fumble and sacked Kirk Cousins. He did great.
All right, coming up next, we get to the 11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. I want to talk more about what this defense has done. One area that they were really bad at a year ago, and 3 games in, it looks really promising. And we also learned a lot from the rest of the NFL, and it's great news for the Chiefs. That's next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Doubleheader alert. That's right. There's 2 NFL games tonight, and you have another chance for a big W on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on tonight's game. So you could build out a quick same-game parlay plus for Monday Night Football games. Jags at Bills, Commanders at Bengals. How about Josh Allen over his rushing yards? Joe Burrow over passing. Drew will like that one. James Cook anytime touchdown, or Austin Eckler to go over his receiving yards. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
The Chiefs, Cardinals, Royals, Blues, and our 2 soccer teams, the Current and St. Louis City SC, are all endorsing Amendment 2. Here's why you should support it too. Right now, Missouri sports fans are taking their money and placing their bets in Kansas and Illinois. We're losing our money to other states, money that could be invested in our schools. Amendment 2 fixes that. By legalizing sports betting, Amendment 2 will generate over $100 million for Missouri schools over the next 5 years. And there's a strong constitutional guarantee ensuring the revenue from sports betting will go to education. Kansas and Illinois know sports betting is a winner for their fans and taxpayers. It's time for Missouri to get into the game. Amendment 2 means over $100 million for Missouri schools. Join the Chiefs, Cardinals, Royals, Blues, Current, and St. Louis City SC in supporting Amendment 2. Paid for by Winning for Missouri Education, Mike Pridmore, Treasurer.
Intimacy. Those special moments when we're together and deeply connected to the one we love. Truly, there are few times in life as wonderful as these. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and it's the restoration of intimacy that makes me most proud of the work we do in treating erectile dysfunction for our patients. ED is an intimacy destroyer. Research shows that men can draw apart from their partners when ED affects their sex life. The condition causes stress, anxiety, and depression. Even worse, a man's partner can even blame themselves when ED becomes a problem. For us at Heartland Men's Health, this is unacceptable because ED is simply a medical condition like any other, and we have many treatment options and treatment combinations that can stop ED in its tracks. In fact, we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. So call us and get back those intimate moments. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and now North Kansas City.
It's Carrington Harrison from The Drive here now on 96.5 The Fan, telling you guys about my friends over at Window World. Window World is the official window of the Kansas City Chiefs. Pick up the phone right now and call Window World today at 816-799-0820 or check out the website, windowskansascity.com. And remember this, when you call Window World, be sure to mention that you heard this on The Drive with me, and you'll be entered into a drawing for 4 Chiefs tickets during the upcoming season. You know they got some big games, and you're going to want to be there. So call my friends over at Window World. They're offering right now 36 months same-as-cash financing with approved credit. In over 20 years of business, Window World has improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 54,000 homes right here in the Kansas City metro. Check out the website, windowskansascity.com. Pick up the phone today at 816-799-0820 for a free home estimate. Call to be entered into a drawing for 4 Chiefs tickets. Remember, Window World, simply the best for less. And the official window of your Kansas City Chiefs.
This is Eric Geschwin, Market President of Pinnacle Bank. And when your family or business needs financial assistance, call us, the bankers who care. At Pinnacle Bank, you're more than just an account number. That's why we're dedicated to being by your side on every step of your journey. You can trust us to deliver a job well done. For more information, visit us at pinbank.com or call 816-578-4334. Pinnacle Bank, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
What's better than 1 win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get 1 line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Wow, honey, have you seen the electric bill?
Yeah, it's out of control. But have you heard of Navien tankless water heaters?
Tankless? How does that even work?
Well, instead of constantly heating and storing water, it only heats water when we need it. So much more efficient than our giant tank heater.
That sounds great. Let's look into Navien.
Already on it.
Imagine all the hot water you need only when you need it. Bulky tanks are history. Navien high-efficiency tankless is the future. Compact, wall-hung units free up floor space, lower energy bills, longer life than tanks, and a 15-year warranty. Find out more at tanklessmadesimple.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? Well, Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has helped over 35,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares, and they may be able to help you too. If you were misled into signing a timeshare agreement that is a lifetime commitment, if you were told timeshare is a great investment or your maintenance fees will never go up, you need to get the facts about timeshare cancellation. For over 10 years, Wesley Financial Group has been dedicated to helping folks get out of a lifetime of debt by canceling their timeshares. So they created a timeshare exit information kit, which reveals how the timeshare industry works and what your options are for cancellation. Simply call Wesley right now and they will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free. See how you can become timeshare free. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. Again, 800-761-0000.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Hey, it's Justin Reed, and you're listening to the home of the back-to-back Super Bowl champs, 96.5 The Fan.
KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City in Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. We'll get to your calls here in just a second. 913-586-7965. Frank, we see you on hold. We'll get to you in a couple of minutes. Appreciate you guys interacting with us on a Victory Monday in Kansas City. We're also just under an hour away from hearing from Andy Reid exclusively on your home for the Chiefs. 96.5 The Fan. Trash of the day also 15 minutes away. How was the weekend, real quick, Drew, of the dyed hair? So we all know if you listen on Friday, live in studio, we had Downtown Hair Lounge and Casey Mo come in. They gave you a nice cut. They also bleached your hair, gave you the Joe Burrow look. That was part of the bet, which you, again, I appreciate, paid off very, very quickly, Cody. And when it comes to the weekend, I was curious when your wife's birthday dinner, how many people would say anything, if anybody at all, when it comes to the hairstyle.
Dinner was good. I was unashamed. My wife was still likes the hair. We went to go eat, and as we're eating, the manager of the place comes up and goes, "You look like you lost a bet." And I was like, yes, I did.
So Drew, here's the thing:
they listen to the show and they listen to the station all the time. So.
I know they do. And here's the thing you don't realize though is that Cody and I and there's people everywhere. We have people everywhere.
Yeah.
Let me just say that I got a message at 6:40 on Saturday that said Drew's in my restaurant right now.
From Joe.
I said, yes. And I said, just tell him his hair looks amazing and he should keep it forever.
Shout out to Joe, man. He
so, yes, I
do.
I brought it up because I knew multiple people had said something because we told them to. We had people everywhere. I'm glad you guys had a good
somebody
dinner.
else came up. It wasn't just him. Somebody else from the restaurant. They were, I believe, a server also came up and said something.
Can you pop yourself on camera for just a minute? For those asking,
The shot's not.
It's
the
still
camera's
got,
not working for some reason.
It's not orange. It's not orange, but it's. Here's the issue. He's wearing a bright orange Cincinnati shirt because the Bengals are playing tonight as they try to win a football game.
More orange, hypothetically.
Okay. I think
we'll let it go.
I think that's caused a little bit of that. But let's
Don't
get
worry about it, Drew.
Let's get your guys' thoughts, not necessarily on Drew's hair, but on what we saw in Week 3. Let's go out to Frank from Leawood. Frank, you're on Cody and Gold. Good morning.
Hey, I guess that's why you don't bet against Mahomes and the
That's
Chiefs.
right. Yeah. That's right.
That's a given. Hey, just a couple points here. Nick Bolton probably played his worst game of his career against Baltimore, and then he played a little bit better game against Cincinnati, but he seemed to be back to his form as of last night. He looked really good. So hats off to him to bounce back. That's the thing about this team. You hear all these people on social media talking about, it's the refs and they get all the calls and all the excuses of why they keep winning or why their teams keep losing, our team keeps winning. It's because players step up. People like Nick Bolton and players like that in the organization continue to step up. They may have a bad game or two. They may have a little bit of a bad stretch, but they always bounce back. That's a testament to the players. That's a testament to the coaching and the organization as a whole, and the scouting of bringing a new guy in. Just like we lost Tyrann Mathieu as the rusher, so then they moved it to someone else. Now it's Connor. Now it's somebody else. It's just always in the mix. And this organization seems to be 1 to 4 steps ahead of everyone else. Everyone else is playing checkers. The Chiefs are playing chess, and they're just that much better because of the organization, the way they just fill the gaps, and they continue to bring guys in and mix in the roster and the talent that they have. So that's why they win. I don't hear anyone complaining about the 3 bogus calls on Atlanta's last drive last night. The pass interference of Vix McDuffie was not there.
Right.
Legal hands that was called was not there. There was another flag that wasn't there. They had 4th and inches to seal the game, to score the touchdown in the end, and they choked because that's what they do. So stop blaming the refs and start blaming your organization and the players that you have inside those organizations. It's not the refs. It's your teams that are not up to par with the Chiefs.
There you go, Frank. Frank and Leawood, appreciate the call. No, I'm with you. I mean, you don't become a dynasty on accident. To your point, it's of course Mahomes and Andy Reid are a huge part of it, but Brett Veach, like moves that don't seem, we all know last year, don't seem big at the time. Drew Tranquil a year ago. This year, I think 3 weeks in, we've already seen 2 moves that didn't seem all that big at the time already come through. Bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster, we said, hey, don't expect him to have 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but we've seen him last night, wide receiver screens, great blocker, one of the better blocking wide receivers, and he gets a touchdown in the game where they had a perfect kind of pick play, if you will, that was set up to get Juju open. Carson Steele was an undrafted guy that nobody outside of Brett Veach in that front office knew who the hell he was until like June or July.
I think it was like July for me.
You know, and so I'm 100% with you, Frank. Thanks for the call, 913-586-7965. He mentioned the defense. I want to get back to the defense, though, Cody, because last year, this was a bottom 7 yards per carry defense in football. That was a weakness for them. So far this year, Derrick Henry in the opener, 3.5 yards per carry. Now, look, Zach Moss is not on the level of Bijan or Derrick Henry, but Zach Moss, 2.8 yards per carry. Then, last night, Robinson, who is still one of the best running backs in football, I would say he's a top 5 running back in football.
He's certainly one of the most talented.
No doubt. And they've misused him over the first 2 years of his career. This year, I think they'll be fine. He was averaging 1.9 yards per carry. So that's the big shift we're seeing in his defense. I know the tight ends have scared some people in terms of the yardage, even though last night it was 1 catch. 1 catch, really, from Kyle Pitts. The run defense is a huge switch from what we saw from a year ago.
I think over the years, we've probably given more credit to the offense for reinventing themselves, right? Like, this year it's going to have to be Pacheco's year with no wide receivers and short passing games. And in 2018, it was, what if we throw the ball 50 yards in the air every single snap? And they've had to go through some reinvention year after year. So's the defense. We just don't notice it as much. And this is the first new one. They have decided that instead of being the league's best passing defense that nobody can ever get a pass off on, apparently they're going to be the league's best run defense this year. And that's how they're going to be a dominant defensive team. They're going to take away they're going to make you one-dimensional by taking away your ability to run. Last year, they made you one-dimensional by taking away your ability to pass. They're doing it differently because of the personnel. Leo Chanel, Bolton, Connor, some of these guys are good, run-fit stoppers. Turk Wharton's having a great year for that, so they're allowed to put him inside with Chris Jones. That's making the middle almost impossible to run against. They've just transformed, I think, seemingly overnight, but obviously it was an entire offseason's worth, into the best run defense in the league. So far, Derrick Henry, by the way, outside of the Chiefs game, looks like a force. Certainly a force in that Cowboys game last night.
Yeah,
Bengals
right now,
had
everybody, you want to talk about the polar opposite. That Cowboys defense is the worst run defense in football.
It's the worst defense in football?
Yeah, anybody can run on the Cowboys. It's been pretty clear.
But so, Derrick Henry held down. Cincinnati had no run game to speak of. And then it was fairly obvious based on the number of times they handed it off. The Falcons' entire game plan was we're going to shove it down their throat in the run game, and they got 63 yards on 24 carries between Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And to go with that, no passes to the backs really either. Bijan 2 for 7. Tyler Algier didn't eat him up in that regard. I mean, they held down the entire run game. I think it's now the staple of their defense this year. I'm assuming at the end of the year, if there's one thing we'll know about this defense, it'll be they can stop the damn run, which is the antithesis of what they were the last 2 years, 3 years. They've given up run plays each of the last 2 or 3 years. It didn't seem to matter much, but that's kind of what they did for a while.
Let's see, I'm trying to think of the running backs that they got coming up. This Sunday, if Justin Herbert plays, I think it'd be a good test because J.K. Dobbins has had a really good start to his season. Now, Gus Edwards has been a non-factor, but Greg Roman's their offensive coordinator in L.A., and we know he's run first. He was in Baltimore for many, many years. And so I think this is another good test. Now, if it's Easton Stick or Taylor Heineke, that changes things because it's even easier to focus on the run when you're not worried about the quarterback necessarily beating you. So maybe it's not going to be as good of a test as we thought. Then in a couple weeks, they get the Saints, who their offense came back down to earth in a big, big way against Philadelphia. But you're dealing with Kamara and then Taysom Hill whenever he's healthy. He didn't play this past week for the Eagles. So, yeah, I think it's really impressive to see what they've done against the run to this point in time. I'll be curious to see if that does keep up. I'm a little skeptical if it will, but with the way the NFL is going 3 weeks in, where teams are running, 2 high safeties, and the Chiefs do that more than anybody else in football, by the way.
Yep. So don't outlaw Mel Kiper, please.
Yeah, the Chiefs are taking advantage of it as well, and so you're just not as concerned this year in the NFL with teams beating you deep down the field. Any team right now. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but you're not as concerned with that, and so you can focus in on the run a little bit more, and I think that's also what's led to some of that.
But they're still doing it better than other teams,
That's why I brought it up. I mean, for 1.9 yards per carry, Bijan Robinson, how many times this year are we going to see that?
That'll be the worst output he has all season.
I think so. I think so.
I'd be stunned if he had a worse output than that. And you're right. J.K. Dobbins a good test this week. Alvin Kamara the week after that. I don't think Christian McCaffrey's scheduled to be back by the time they would have that, or I'd lump that into the mix too. But, they're going to have to kind of go through that. I just kind of like that they have a new identity when it comes to defense because you're not always going to have the same personnel. Look, in the secondary, it's a guessing game sometimes. Every once in a while, Najee Johnson and whatever, they can't switch because he's still young. Or, I've seen Joshua Williams get beat this year. I've seen Jalen Watson get beat this year. They're going to get beat a little more often out of that second and third cornerback spot because they're not as deep. Now, Trent McDuffie's still a star. The only play, he gave up 2 plays in the game. Gave up 1 catch to Mooney, and then he got called for pass interference on a play where all the contact was initiated by Ray McLeod. So, he's still locked down, so they can shut down the one half of the field, but still, it's there.
913-586-7965. You brought up the calls again. Let's go back out to the phone line. John in OP wants to talk about the Chiefs, I guess, getting the advantage from the refs. What's going on, John? You're on Cody and Gold.
Yes, the Chiefs always get the advantage. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Okay.
You guys win a 3-peat, you're not winning the 4. Rice is getting suspended probably the whole year next year.
Okay.
Kelsey's cooked. He really is. He's too much in love with Taylor. She needs him to go away. I'm just sick of the Chiefs getting every call. It's just ridiculous.
Who's the team you root for? I'm curious now. I'll let you finish. Sorry, John. Who's the team you root for?
The team I root for the Bills.
Okay.
Bills,
Makes more sense. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just I think it's going to be a test when, they go to Buffalo. I think Buffalo is actually going to beat them because the refs are not going to be on the Chiefs' favor. I mean, that's just what I think,
Okay.
But I wish you guys luck. I think you guys are probably going to get the 3-peat, but I don't think you're getting the 4.
Okay.
But
all right, John.
I'll be honest with John. That's the worst insult of all time.
What? Look, John.
You're probably going to get the 3-peat, but you're not going to get the 4. No.
I appreciate you listening. You're a Bills fan, so and I like Bills fans, but it makes more sense. But to say you'll get the 3-peat, but we're not letting you get a 4th. I mean, that's
All right. I guess.
I appreciate the call. 913-586-7965.
Look, we've talked about this. I'm not pretending like the Chiefs never get calls. Of course they get calls just like anyone else.
I mean, and also, I actually don't disagree. I think there's a good chance the Bills in Buffalo in November beat the Chiefs. We've seen that before, right? In terms of, not in Buffalo, but we've seen that in regular season games. I don't doubt that regular season game is going to be, once again, the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills. Can they beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? And the answer so far has been no.
But I once again will not let a factual inaccuracy work against it. Because when they're talking about calls, they're obviously talking about roughing. Chiefs get more calls than anybody. They get there. It's just a reminder, since 2009, they've been keeping track of the number of roughing the passer calls that have gone against each quarterback. Now, some of these guys have played longer, so certainly had a better opportunity to get them. But do you know who's had more roughing the passer calls called against them or called for them, even though they've been in the league a year less? Josh Allen, who has 34 such calls go against him versus Patrick Mahomes, who has 27. I get it, John. You're probably tired of the Chiefs, and I don't blame you for that. But, I mean, that game last night was just poorly officiated. I didn't feel like it went one way versus the other.
Yeah, we already talked about officials earlier in the show, and I think we both acknowledged that, probably should have been a PI call, but then there were makeup calls on the next drive. And the Chiefs make teams pay when there is a slight loophole, if you will, right? If there's that one missed call, the Chiefs pounce on you. Other teams do not do that. But, yes, look, if you tell me the Chiefs are going to 3-peat, but you're guaranteeing they don't, I mean, that's going out there.
I'll take it, by the way. If you want to make that trade-off right now, I'll take it. Bills can win the Super Bowl next year.
Come on, John. Bills fan John. You're welcome to call in anytime.
Have some faith in your team this year, John. That's all.
Call us up call us back in November, please, the week of that game. That's when I want to hear from you again, John.
I will say, John better be careful. The Bills play tonight against the Jags, and the Bills are 2-0. The Jags are 0-2. Everything points to, of course, the Bills should win this game. They're the better team. They're playing better. Did the NFL not teach you anything yesterday, John? Yesterday in the NFL, an 0-2 team went and kicked the Texans' ass. The 49ers blew a massive lead against the Rams. The Bucs were 2-0 against a Broncos team that had looked miserable for 2 straight weeks and lost. And Andy Dalton is now the only quarterback in the NFL this season with a 300-yard, 3-touchdown day. If you pretend like you know how these two games are going to go tonight,
that's what's
you're lying to yourself. The NFL, anyone can win in the NFL.
This is why the NFL is the best, though, because just when you think you have it figured out, and boy, oh boy, nobody has it figured out 3 weeks into this season. It's why it's been so difficult for those of you that play survivor pools, and why you're talking about 80% of these survivor pools are already chopped 3 weeks into the season, because it is so unpredictable. But you're right. The rest of the NFL, you mentioned the Texans, who are a 2-0 team. They got their ass kicked. You mentioned the 49ers have lost a couple in a row. The Bucs getting worked by Bo Nix, who looked great against Tampa. And yet the Chiefs are able to avoid that loss in which they don't play great. You know, I think it was Kling, actually, on the broadcast last night here on 96.5 The Fan, mentioning, like, hey, it's been a weird day in the NFL. Let's make sure that the weird doesn't happen to the Chiefs as well.
But it almost did.
And the Chiefs have usually avoided that result. It's one of those weird psychology things where you're like, did it help the Chiefs that all this stuff happened before them, and so they had, their full attention? Who knows? I don't know. All I know is the Falcons were calling last night's game the biggest game in that stadium's history.
Were
Seriously.
they really?
See if that's not. Yes.
That was a report from a national reporter. Adam Schefter sent out. Some executives or some people in the Falcons organization viewed this as one of the biggest games in their history because Blank was getting inducted and Kirk Cousins against Mahomes.
T.I. was performing.
They were like, Jackson was there. T.I.'s performing. All of
they
that.
They were like stacking up a bunch of
free
stuff.
hot dogs, free sodas, all that. Yeah, it was their biggest game in that stadium's history, and they kind of were promoting it as that as well. And yet the Chiefs once again spoiled the party. The week before, we talked about Cincinnati. L.A., if they would have been undefeated, if the Chargers would have won and been 3-0, I'm sure the Chargers would be talking like this is their opportunity to send a message that they're a factor in the divisional race. Well, they just lost to Pittsburgh and their quarterback's hurt now.
For a game that meant a lot, the crowd stunk. The crowd weren't loud. It didn't.
A lot of Chiefs fans down there again.
It didn't sound like a game that
I would
was
say home of the Chiefs. For those that were there, they say home of the Chiefs. You could hear it.
Yeah.
What was the biggest surprise for you yesterday? Was it Andy Dalton?
So
that one is not the biggest surprise. It's actually the Broncos for me. I can't believe they worked the Bucs over like that.
So I'm with you. The reason why I can actually say it wasn't the biggest surprise, I got nervous about the Raiders in their performance against the Panthers. I got 11:30 yesterday. Now, it still didn't matter because I switched my survivor pick, one of my 2 entries,
to
Cleveland. So I only have 1 entry left. But I got the feeling that Andy Dalton was going to actually win that game because I took the Raiders out of my survivor pick at 11:30 yesterday.
Wow,
That's
so
a real thing that
minutes.
happened. It still didn't matter, but so no, I'm with you. Bo Nix, he looked like a vet out there, and the Bucs, remember, had just gone to Detroit and won, so that was way more surprising than the Raiders being the Raiders.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
That was one of the games where it's perfect timing, Gold, where it's like, yeah, all the bad stuff's happening, but let's bring in the vet, rally the team up together a little bit. Always one of those games you don't want to be playing that team.
It's also just in 5 years of Patrick Mahomes, I've only watched them get their ass beat the way the Texans did yesterday, like twice. Twice in 5 years.
That game
is
was
all.
not
And
close.
they got worked over by Minnesota. It wasn't that Minnesota won. I was actually on Fox 4 for their Sunday show.
Yeah.
And they make us do an upset pick for the final segment. And I
And?
said, watch Minnesota.
There you go.
I said, that was the one I like. I think people sleep on them, and I think they'll be competitive in this game. I didn't think they'd dog walk them.
Kevin O'Connell, once again, proved he's one of the bright young offensive minds in
he's
the
great.
league. He's doing this with Sam Darnold. I haven't looked at the updated odds. A week ago, you still could have got him at like 7-1 to win Coach of the Year.
Not anymore.
My guess is he's the favorite. I haven't looked. My guess is Kevin O'Connell's. Mike McDonald, the Seahawks, is the other one to keep an eye
They're
on.
also undefeated,
They
yeah.
also haven't played anybody. Have you seen Seattle's schedule?
Yeah.
They have played the Patriots. They won in overtime. They just played
The Broncos, I believe they played.
They played the
as
Broncos
well.
in week 1, and then they just played. Oh my gosh, yesterday. Who the hell did they just play?
I can't think of it either.
They faced the unfortunately lifeless Miami Dolphins.
There you go, with Skylar Thompson,
Who have the only
who
team
then
the
got
NFL has
hurt,
never
and they
led
went-
for a single second.
Then Tim Boyle was quarterback for the Dolphins at one point.
Brian Flores also the DC that Vikings defense was inconsistent as all get out last year, and they are lights
They lost
out
to
this
Neil
year.
Hunter, and they're playing great.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the trash.
Trash of the day.
Well, I alluded to this earlier. There's only one choice for the trash of the day. That would be
there are other choices.
Your hot dog derby performance again. They somehow let you get a 4th run at the hot dog derby, and sources on the ground told me it wasn't even close.
Okay.
You are
sources on the ground. There's video of it.
0-4. Okay. 0-4 in the Derby. That's the trash today. You're taking spots from lifelong Royals fans that want to live out their dream in the Derby. You've gotten 4 cracks at it, and you're 0-4. It's time to give it up.
I don't care who I'm taking the spots from. Get in the race. You find a way to get in the race, and then you can have your chance to win. Second, I'm just going to be honest with you for rigged. It's a rigged race. I had to go against Matt Biesler, a former U.S. men's national team member. That's a running sport.
A lot of excuses
Matt
already.
Biesler raced in this one other time in his life against other professional soccer players, and he won that one too. It was a rigged race. I had
This sounds
no
familiar.
chance to win. Now, the other ones I've lost fair and square. This one, this is a joke. I had no chance. Barring Matt Biesler not making it to the game, breaking his ankle on the way in, tripping and falling on his face, there was no amount of prep, training,
Did you see the video, Gold?
prayer
I did
I
see
could
it.
have done
I saw
in
the
which I
video.
could have caught Matt Biesler. Impossible.
So this argument, I think people would have more sympathy for your, I was going up against a former professional athlete that played on the U.S. men's national team as well. Or I think we would hear you more if you didn't lose.
Okay, so
hold on. If you
the
didn't
other thing-
lose to me, unathletic radio host, I beat you in the Derby.
Put it back in the
Ta-
put yourself back in the race.
I don't need to do that. I already won, my man. Nate
You're
Taylor.
afraid.
No, I don't.
You're
need to-
afraid to lose.
You don't get to do this when you're 0
I
for
do
4.
get to do it.
No,
You're afraid to
0 for 4.
race again.
You are 0-4. You don't get an opportunity to go up against me. Floyd Mayweather gives you 1 crack to get him. You didn't get him. You don't get it. Just
You're
keep
calling yourself Floyd Mayweather?
Nate Taylor in this
Now,
example, or
this
me.
is nuts.
Either way,
Now we've gone too far.
Just as nuts as you being 0 for 4 and claiming that you deserve a rematch for anybody. You're going to be 0-10 if they let you race 6 more times.
I might, but I'm not going to quit.
You're done.
I'll just let you know
You're
now.
done.
Unless they ban me from this race, I will keep racing.
That might be the argument.
Unless
goal
they
to
tell
have
me
it
I
happen,
can't.
Is how bad
do
can
it
it?
anymore.
How bad can it get for Cody?
I'll
It's
race
not- that's what
every
it is.
time they tell me I'm in it until I either win
The only person
or
that
go
wants that is
winless
you,
for
though.
the rest of my life.
That's
That's
a
fine.
selfish act, is what that is.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I don't think I would deny that on this end. I do think it
It's
qualifies
it's
as
going to
that.
turn from a selfish act into, you know what? How many times can this guy lose? How many times is it
So
going to
says
happen?
No,
That's what's gonna happen.
Hiles is going to be in the next one. They put you in. He could
my
run backwards
goodness.
and beat me. Are you kidding me?
I thought maybe you would finish second at least.
Okay,
So-
I
so-
will
so
admit.
did I. I
So
did.
here's the thing. I gave up at the end. Like I slowed up.
It looked
Unfortunately
like
for
you
me.
did. It
No, I'm
looked
not
like
making an
you
excuse.
did.
I finished.
It looked like it.
I let up.
It looked
Because
like
the
you
second,
did.
the frustration set in right about, like I was hustling. I was trying to move. I was, I was trying to see how close I could keep with Beasler. I knew I wasn't going to win. But I was trying to see how close. And then he started, like, Beasler hit another gear. Beasler found another gear, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like, this thing's not even going to be close. And so, like, he put it in another gear, and I just, like, I quit on Team Mustard there for a minute, right towards the end, where I just knew it was over, and I was frustrated that I couldn't even keep it close with the man.
We just mentioned the NFL's unpredictable. I'm serious because there's audio of this. Nothing was more predictable in recent sports ? History than you losing this race. We all knew there was no way.
Who's the worst team in baseball? I'm the Chicago White Sox in this race.
Gosh.
Like that's essentially my current record in this thing. But if they put
Were
me
there
back
any
in the race, I'll
boos?
race
Were there
again.
any boos in the crowd? Did you hear any?
No booze.
Okay.
No booze. I did lose my glasses on the field. Now,
we have people that are
tweeted that.
offering to race.
People want to race. Here's what we need to do. We need
Let listeners race against me next year.
I think it needs to be 50 or 50 plus year olds.
50 plus.
That way you can lose to 50 plus.
That's fine.
Oh my gosh.
But you couldn't have run track in high school, okay?
They're 50 now. Come on, man. I just
Beaster still got it, by the way. Still pretty fast.
I was hoping you at least get second. Now you're embarrassing the show. You're kind of embarrassing the show at this point.
Yeah,
Shout out
That
to
is
that
the
person
trash
who
of the
found your
day.
glasses, by the way. I saw that whole
Yeah,
sequence.
Ball Boy
Cody.
found
I
my
bet you were-
glasses.
That would have
Thank
been, yeah.
Yeah,
But you
that
don't wear them during the race usually, right?
No, I
You
had
always
somebody
take
else
them
hold
off.
them, and they dropped him on the field. They were left on the field. They were in foul territory for a whole inning. They just gotten stomped
And then Cody
on.
says, not all heroes wear capes. Definitely true there.
All right, up next, we get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. We got to talk a little bit more about Travis Kelce and what has not happened 3 weeks into the season. Plus, we're still expected to hear from Andy Reid at noon, only on 96.5 The Fan.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
COVID-19 cases are on the rise, and peak flu season is almost here. Save time and get the updated COVID-19 vaccine and your flu shot at the same time at Hy-Vee. Schedule your updated COVID-19 vaccine and flu shot online today, or just stop by any Hy-Vee pharmacy whenever it's convenient for you. No appointment necessary. Plus, when you get your flu shot at Hy-Vee, earn a 20-cent fuel saver. Your Hy-Vee pharmacy is here to help you and your family stay healthy. Some restrictions apply.
Doubleheader alert. There's 2 NFL games tonight, and you have another chance for a big W on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on tonight's game. You can build out a quick same-game parlay, plus for the Monday Night Football games, Jags at Bills, Commanders at Bengals, like Josh Allen over his rushing yards and Joe Burrow over passing, coupled with James Cook to score a touchdown and Austin Eckler to go over his receiving yards. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Choosing the best doctor for your eyes is one of the most important medical decisions you'll ever make. Whether you're considering blade-free LASIK, all laser cataract surgery, and premium lens implants, or want a world-renowned doctor to help with your glaucoma, macular degeneration, dry eyes, or diabetes, trust my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein. Call Silverstein Eye Centers to make an appointment, 816-358-3600. Experience the best eye care in Kansas City.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Is your everyday congestion preventing you from enjoying life's big moments? Try Vicks Sinex Saline today and get yourself back in the action. Vicks Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion with a gentle ultrafine mist. Sinex Saline's drug-free, no-mess formula instantly moisturizes and soothes dry, irritated nasal passages for quick and effective relief. Get back to enjoying life's big moments to the fullest without having to worry about everyday congestion holding you back. Just Sinex, breathe, use as directed.
With Labor Day savings at the Home Depot, you can get up to $1,500 off select appliances from top brands like LG, America's most reliable line of appliances, like the LG Smart Top Load Washer with easy unload angled front, so you can reach every last sock. Right now, get up to $1,500 off select appliances in-store and online with Labor Day savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid August 22nd through September 11th. U.S. only. See store online for details. America's most reliable line of appliances per independent study.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/gutter to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/gutter. That's leaffilter.com/gutter.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Brought to you by Indeed.
Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan.
Coming up in 25 minutes, we're going to head out to Arrowhead. You're going to hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid exclusively here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan, every Monday after a Chiefs game at noon during Cody and Gold. I'm curious to hear him talk about Wanya a little bit. He wasn't asked about what he thought of Wanya's performance yet last night, so now that maybe he watched film on the flight back or whatever, because Wanya did. You know, the fact that he wasn't mentioned much throughout the broadcast is always a good sign. You're not supposed to mention offensive linemen usually, especially tackles, but he got the full go. The only time Kingsley went in was when they brought in an extra offensive lineman, which makes sense.
And other than that, it was Wanye's job, and there's no reason to believe that that's changing anytime soon based off of the performance he put together in that game. I also thought they did help him out a little bit more than they did Kingsley in the first game. For example, Carson Steele had one of the most important blocks of the game, in which he helped to extend the play and give Mahomes just enough time. So we'll hear from Andy on that in just a little bit. We've been talking throughout the show today, not only about this team just finding ways to win, but Rashee Rice and what he's doing. Travis Kelce was featured on that broadcast last night. Multiple times they were discussing, like, Chris Collinsworth was like, I just don't get it. He wasn't saying that he thinks he's old and washed. He's like, I don't get it. I don't get why the production is not there. And there was a clear concerted effort to start the second half to force feed the ball to Travis Kelce. And they did a couple times, but yet again, we're sitting heading into week 4, and he's got 8 catches for 69 yards. I think some of this does go with, hey, Rashee Rice is just eating right now. He's the guy finding spots in the zone. Teams are not double teaming him or anything, and so he's just going to continue to eat. When does that adjustment happen? You're still seeing teams double team Kelce and all that. That might be true, but I don't feel like Mahomes and him are on the same page the same as we have had. There was the one play in which Patrick Mahomes threw it kind of out of the back of the end zone where he thought Kelce was going to go vertical, and Kelce didn't. These are things that normally just that's the relationship we discuss, how they just both know exactly where they're supposed to go with the ball, or in Travis's case, into open space. That kind of stuff just does not happen. It really is bizarre. I still maintain that he's getting open at times, but we're heading into week 4, man, and the best day at the office so far from a receiving perspective has been 4 catches for 30 yards, which was last night.
Yeah, and so I don't think he's going to finish this season with 391 yards.
I hear you. Same.
Which is what he is currently pacing at. So whatever we're seeing out of Travis Kelce right now is not the end story for Travis Kelce. I told you I got maybe like one more week of excuse making where I, again, kind of like Chris Collinsworth, don't get it. I see plenty of highlights where Travis Kelce is breaking free, is open, is available for one of the passes, and for whatever reason right now, those passes aren't going to Travis Kelce and are going to other open wide receivers. And I still think a huge chunk of it is because these teams have not made the switch to, we're not going to let Rashee Rice beat us, we're not going to let, and have stayed on, we're not going to let Travis Kelce beat us. And eventually I think that's going to shift, and this is going to look a lot different. I don't watch him on the field and be like, he looks like he's fried. I will say he looked a little frustrated on the sideline yesterday.
Yeah, disappointed, bummed out. Yeah.
Yeah, bummed, bored, whatever it's going to be. They zoomed in on him pretty hard on that sideline clip going to break where he just looks like,
well, I'm sure he's frustrated. This is a guy that normally is a 1,000-yard receiver every year. And right now, through 3 weeks, I don't want to say a non-factor because I think he is drawing a lot of attention and is making Rashee Rice's job easier. But if you're just box score watching, which is what a lot of people nationally are doing, fantasy football world that we live in.
He's not producing.
Fantasy football world that we live in and stuff, and so people are like, he's just not doing anything. It's bizarre. This is the only time in his career he's had a stretch of games like this, production-wise. I haven't seen it before, man.
No, that's what's throwing me off about it, is that I've just never seen Travis Kelce look like this. I've just never seen him look in a way where, and I think some of it is because like the entire offense isn't together at the same time yet. It still feels like off in some ways, timing wise, and so I'll maybe give it a little bit of time before they do that. I think again, Kelce has been open times in which the ball didn't get to him. What stinks about this conversation though is Travis Kelce was talking about his future in the offseason a little bit, both on his New Heights podcast and other interviews and stuff. And what he had made it very clear was he wasn't going to go out not making a difference on the field anymore. Just like his brother Jason had openly admitted and has talked about it more since he retired, that he wasn't going to go out still not being able to play at a Hall of Fame level. If I can't play at a Hall of Fame level, I'm not coming out there to try to be Cole Kmet. Travis Kelce not going to ride out the rest of his career being Cole Kmet. He is determined to be the level of player that he was if he's going to stay in the NFL. My concern is that if he does look like this for a larger chunk of this season, then where are we? Now, I'll say he played 77% of the snaps. That's actually kind of low for him in a game, even though he was the leading offensive skill position player in snaps. He played more snaps than Rashee Rice. Maybe there is still some of this, like if he produces in the playoffs again, I'm not going to sweat it. If he produces in big games against big opponents, I'm not going to sweat it. And they're 3-0 without Travis Kelce. Could you imagine I told you he only had 67 yards and they were 3-0? No way.
Yeah,
they haven't needed him. That's why it doesn't feel so pressure-packed.
Yeah, there's way less stress on that because ultimately the results are what matter, and the team is 3-0. But yes, if you just tell the story, Kelsey's production, and if I told you that Pacheco then was going to be hurt, and I told you that Hollywood Brown may not play a snap for this team at all, and yet, and not may, he hasn't played a snap at all, and yet they're 3-0 against a Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins stretch of the season. Yeah, you would have said, I don't know how you're getting 3 wins. And yet here they are. And this is cliche stuff, but that's why they're a great team. They are giving maybe C+ type performance, at least this Sunday night, I would say. Offensively for sure, and defense I think was better than that. And yet they found ways to win. I think when you look at Travis Kelce, what we're seeing so far, I'm with you. I don't believe this is the production we're gonna see from him all year. How much of this on Patrick Mahomes too, though? A little bit. We're gonna talk more about him throughout the show today and tomorrow. Mahomes admitting that, hey, he's got to get back to kind of the fundamentals. His footwork's a little bit off. His base is off. Things like that. He was underthrowing some guys, leading guys to the sideline too much. He's been off, admittedly, and hasn't been all that sharp for the first 3. How much is that also contributing to the lack of production from Travis Kelce? I think quite a bit, because so much of their rapport or so much of their success together is because of the rapport that they have, knowing where everybody's going to be. And if Mahomes is a little off himself, well, then it's awfully tough, I'm sure, to have the focus and be on the same page that they normally are on. So I think it's a combination of things. I think you're seeing teams play Kelce the same way. You're seeing Mahomes be off. You're also seeing Rashee Rice develop and get open so frequently right now. Yep. All of that is contributing. Plus, one thing we didn't acknowledge, and luckily the O-line play was better, but Patrick Mahomes is getting the ball out quicker than he ever has in his career. Usually you're like, well, that's a great thing. Well,
not usually when you're getting it to Kelce. They freelance more.
Correct. And I think all that is contributing to why the production just simply hasn't been there for Travis.
I mean, it's not like he's not getting open either. Like, there was a play last night where Collinsworth brought it up. Mahomes had already thrown the ball to the flat, where if he waited a second longer, Travis Kelce shook out Jesse Bates and was wide open on a nice little route that he ran. Then you go back, of course, to the play where he's open in the middle, and Mahomes just doesn't see the defender there, and he was a tick late. It's not like he's not getting open and he's just running around getting cardio. I mean, he's able to do what he has done. It's just not enough to have Mahomes get the ball his way or even look his way or whatever the case is.
People liked your Cole Kmet example. I guess he had a big day.
I guess he did, yeah. Whatever. Yeah. I was just trying to think of one random 600-yard tight end, and Cole Kmet came to mind.
Fair enough. He had 10 catches for 97 and a touchdown yesterday, I guess. People, yeah.
That's a tough one.
I hear you, though. You think he's got an average, middle-of-the-road average tight end.
Like, you know what I'm talking about when I essentially called him that. And also, Cole Kmet, even for the day he just had, has never been, now he's only been in the league a couple of years, somewhere in that category for Patrick Mahomes. He's been in a category all by his lonesome. Sure. Maybe sometimes there's one tight end who comes somewhere near him or flirts with him in that area. This is also a weird year for tight ends where Isaiah Likely and Dallas Goedert have probably been the top fantasy football tight ends, and that's just not normally the names we're used to seeing. I still think they'll sort it. And, I think yesterday was also matchup-wise kind of tough because they do have, I don't know, maybe the best safeties in the league. By the way, those guys are just on the street, too. Most frustrating safety build of all time. Anybody could have built their safety room the way that the Atlanta Falcons did. Justin Simmons was still available, mid-August?
Yeah, he was a late acquisition. Now, Jesse Bates, was a high-priced free agent. I mean, he's making $64 million in his contract. Like, so he wasn't just
Cincinnati misses him.
Yeah, he wasn't just off the street. He was a big time.
He was a free agent. Anybody could have signed him.
I hear you. I think the Simmons example, I think is way stronger to be like, hey, literally, he was out there for months. Whereas Jesse Bates was one of the first free agents signed a couple years ago. For the Falcons. And you can see why I really believe they'll develop, and the Falcons, the win against them is going to look better. Not that it's college football, it doesn't really matter, but it will look better for those of you that need that reassurance later on in the season. It's going to be one of those.
I completely agree with that. But that's what, what it all boils down to with the Chiefs is, so far this year, they've had an injury to their number 2 wide receiver. They've lost their starting running back. They didn't know what they had at corner. They have already benched their left tackle. They had to go up against the team who was in the AFC title game last year, the team who was in the AFC title game the 2 years before that, an Atlanta Falcons team who was expected to win their division and go to the playoffs because they just had a massive upgrade at quarterback. They have had Travis Kelce being non-factor in their offense, and they are 3-0. Do you hear all the things that went wrong? This is where these teams make excuses of like, well, look, it's all stacked against us. Look at all the things and the injuries and the things that are working against us. Chiefs don't care about that. I just gave you a list of things that are not going the Chiefs' way so far this year. And what have the results been? The Chiefs are 3-0. They're one of only three teams that are currently undefeated in the AFC. One is Buffalo, who will face tonight. The other one, or who will play tonight. The other one is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who also aren't making excuses. They didn't even want to start Justin Fields. It took Russell Wilson getting hurt. They didn't even want to start the quarterback they're starting, and they're 3-0. Really good franchises, really well-run franchises, Gold, as we talked about to open the show. They find ways to win. We can talk about refereeing if you guys want, but good teams find ways to win when the call goes their way. Not good teams get the call, and it still doesn't matter. Falcons got 2 calls last night in the final drive. They score on that drive? No, they got stopped on 4th down by Nick Bolton. That's where I just feel different about the team versus other people.
I mean, that's what makes them a little bit different, too, anyways, because
dynasty.
How many other – because the Steelers, they still have T.J. Watt. He's still healthy. I mean, they haven't had any bigger issues. They had an offensive lineman get hurt yesterday. But if a team goes through more adversity, you see them slip up more, where the Chiefs still just find a way to it looked – the way the game looked like last night, I don't know if you guys agree with this, it looked like a game that would have fit in last season, the way that the game went.
3-0? I thought when they were healthy, 3-0 was going to be a battle. That was a tough start to the schedule. To have to take on Cincinnati, take on Baltimore, take on Atlanta, and now travel on the road to the Chargers. Now, this might be without Justin Herbert, so that game's math has changed a lot. Everybody knew the Chiefs' first 6 or 7 weeks of the season was going to be a bit of a challenge, like a huge challenge for them. They've already gotten through 3. Undefeated. Now, they won all 3 on essentially the final play. Had to stop Bijan on the final play. Now, look, they still got to go and score, and so there's no guarantee there. Isaiah Likely's toe is out, and then obviously the Cincinnati one comes down to this the final interference.
Yeah, but this stuff doesn't happen on accident, though.
No.
Like this is, people want to say the Chiefs are just lucky. Do breaks happen during the 9-game winning streak? Of course, you're gonna have some breaks, but it's also a sign of a well-coached team. Doesn't mean
they stink on the roster. If you look at paper, they're not supposed to be as good as they have been for the last ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired. They're not supposed to be as good as they've done, and it's just when you have well-coached football teams like you're saying, Gold, they find a way to get the little extra edge where they make one extra play that ends up making the entire difference in the end of it.
It's just always when they fumble, it just ends up being a 3-and-out and they get the ball back.
Yeah.
But when the other team fumbles, they go and score a touchdown on your ass. Great teams just do that. They take advantage of your mistakes. That's all it is. Consistently take advantage of your mistakes. And that's exactly how I felt after this game. Like, kudos. Right back in the same spot that they were in before. 3-0, even after nothing's been perfect yet for the Chiefs, and yet still 3-0.
And it's not supposed to be the perfect picture yet either. Like, this is game 3. Like, if they're playing this way in week 10 or 11, then maybe if Travis, like you said, if Travis is still struggling in week 10 or 11 to have, then maybe it's more worth the conversation.
But if they're 9-1, it's going to be the same thing as last year. We said it before the season even started. Like, nothing is going to happen this season other than an injury to your quarterback that you can tell me, well, they just can't overcome blank. Yeah. We're already seeing it. They're already overcoming some of the issues, whether it's injury or just bad play, bad decisions, sloppiness, whatever, like all of that. And do I feel better about the defense that I did 3 weeks ago? Yeah, I actually feel better. I thought there was a chance they were going to slide quite a bit to 10th or something like that. I feel even better about the defense today than I did 3 weeks ago.
They're just better. They're just good in a different way.
Yeah,
they're not the same as last year's defense. They're just good in a different way.
And offensively, we'll just see how this thing continues to play out over the next couple weeks. We mentioned kind of the dream scenario is somehow this team just keeps winning games all regular season, and then the final 2 weeks they somehow get a Hollywood Brown, or maybe in 2 months they get a Pacheco back, and you're like, wow.
all right, they were winning games, and now they're getting 2 huge assets back. Like, that's something that could happen. I don't know if it's a guarantee by any means.
Imagine they're 9-1, and then Pacheco's coming back, or they're 12-3, and then here comes Hollywood Brown too.
Yeah, and there's things they got to clean up. I mean, we'll talk more about this tomorrow, I'm sure, but like the Chiefs are bottom 4 in turnover differential again
every year.
You know, that's where, and yet they're 3-0, but they're -2 turnover differential. They're only better than the Raiders because they're -4, the Eagles -4, and the Titans are -7. Thank you, Will Levis. My goodness.
God, he had another amazing photo this week. Did you see it?
Yes.
He's getting pancaked by the guy, and the ball's just like flying
Every week. Every week.
Dude, they got to bench him.
crazy.
They can't keep playing him. It's nuts. It's Benny Hill now at this point. They can't keep doing it. You could just play like silly music in the background of his plays. You can't keep leaving the man out for slaughter. Because at some point,
I was waiting for
it's
Callahan to
just
say
gonna-
something else, but I don't think he did yesterday. I don't think he delivered on.
I think he realizes now at this point that he can't possibly continue to do that. Like, we'll go back through, like you said, maybe we look at turnovers again later in the week because we know that they finished bottom 5 last year. And I'm sure that there's some year that I'm misremembering and that they're better than I remember one of those years, right? Where you're like, oh, no, they were actually like 11th best or something. But traditionally, Chiefs are kind of careless with the football. Mahomes has been more careless with the football over the last couple of years. So I'm not surprised to find out that they regularly rank somewhere near the bottom of this.
Coming up next, the only place on a Monday you can hear from the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, is right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5. The Fan will get an update maybe on what he thought of Wanye Morris. Plus, sounded like they got out of the game last night pretty injury-free. But we'll hear from Andy Reid next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
At Shane Company, we make finding your perfect engagement ring fun and easy. Because let's be honest, you might feel a little stressed out. We get it. That's why we do all the hard stuff. It's our job to bring you the biggest selection of beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones, so many amazing settings, and all the customization your heart desires. We've got your style and your price range covered, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Come in for a warm welcome and leave with your dream ring and an experience you'll never forget. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Phones aren't wired to the wall anymore. We carry them in our pockets. Cars can even drive themselves, right? Technology advances have changed our lives.
That's football legend Emmitt Smith.
Some of the most fascinating advances are happening with the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. I'm talking about natural regenerative treatments for joint pain without surgery or harmful drugs.
Tens of thousands of patients have discovered these breakthroughs firsthand at QC Kinetics. With over 100 board-certified providers across the country, they're transforming the world of pain treatment using your body's own healing properties to help restore your aching joints.
Why would you keep going back to the old tired ways of treating chronic joint pain? Check out the latest advances at QC Kinetics. And here's an idea for you. You can call them on that smartphone right there in your pocket.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Jeff Briggs with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the Victory Effect, our pledge to drive down vehicle pricing for the city we love. The Labor Day sales event has been extended through September, along with extra incentives from the factory. New Ram heavy duties are now priced up to $16,000 off. New Jeep SUVs priced as low as $22,988. And the best part? Included for free is our first-class customer service, backed by the highest Google and Facebook ratings of any CDJR dealership in the state of Kansas. How do we do it? Transparent pricing. No hidden fees or extra add-ons here, folks. Also, we stand behind our product. If at any time you are dissatisfied with your purchase or your experience, you get a deal directly with me, the owner. And of course, don't forget the free spray and bed liner with the purchase of every new truck. Visit us at Kansas City's only automotive outlet mall, the Legends Auto Plaza, on the southeast corner of 435 and Parallel, just east of Nebraska Furniture Mart, or online at victorymotorskc.com, where our first price is better than their last.
Xfinity here. How can we help? Yeah, there are so many football games streaming this season. Can Xfinity Internet handle it? Oh, we know the game is only live once, so we built a network with all-pro speeds and low lag so you don't miss a snap. So I can yell, "He's open!" when he's actually open? Yeah, but the quarterback still can't hear you.
Switch to Xfinity Internet and TV and enjoy instant access to your favorite live sports with the Xfinity Stream app. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Streaming content limited to the U.S. Programming subject to change.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh cracked American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the third bite, you get the idea. The boss of breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours. Fall's coming, you have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve, so this fall make a plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV.
All right, let's go right out to Arrowhead. The only place you can hear from Andy Reid on a Monday is 96.5 The Fan.
Things to work on, which is a good thing. If you're coming off a win, we know there's some things there that we need to do a better job with, especially playing a good Charger team this week. So I would tell you the same things that I told you last night as far as the people that had the good games. There were some guys that really played well. I started with Bolton, just getting the wind knocked out of him and then sneaking back in there and making a big play like that was tremendous at the end there. Maybe the best thing that took place was nobody was pointing fingers, or everybody was supporting each other, working their way through. And that's happened really the last 3 games in these tight games, knowing that you're going to get people's best shot. You're going to have to take it for right down the 4 quarters. So with that, Steele had a nice day with 17 carries for 77 yards. I thought Rasheed played well, had over 100 yards in receptions. Again, there were things that all of these guys, we can all do better here, myself included. But there were some positives that you could take out of this thing. So, and it's always good to get a win. Wins are hard to get in the National Football League, and so when you start criticizing wins, there are a lot of variables that go into it. But we're finding a way right now. But we got to clean it up and play better football.
You're listening to the Andy Reid press conference on KFNZ FM and AM HD1 and 2 in Kansas City.
Go first to Blair. Go ahead, Blair.
Thanks, Kelsey. And I'll have a follow-up as well. Hey, Andy, Patrick was pretty down on himself. Not down, but, he was himself critical.
Yeah, listen, he's a phenomenal player. And I thought he just kind of got into a rhythm the second half. And a lot of that's my responsibility to get him into that rhythm earlier. And so we'll go back and I'll discuss all that and get that taken care of. But I thought he really hit it well the second half there, and had some beautiful throws. That throw to Kelsey on the deep cross and the throw to Rasheed, same route, 2 different throws though, and was spot on there. So, but anyways, he ended up finishing well. We kind of botched up the last play when we weren't trying to kill, when we were coming out of the end zone there offensively. We had a missed route there. So, but other than that, listen, there are a bunch of things that like I said, we can clean up, but it'll be all right.
And also on that cleanup list does it include the kind of the goal line area? You had each of the last couple of weeks short field goals, and I'm wondering what's going to take to get it punched in.
Yeah, it's tough to win games like that. In this league, just scoring 3 points, you get down in there, you gotta get it in. We've chosen to run the ball a little bit down there, and then we did have a turnover in that area, so we got to do better with that when we were throwing the ball.
We'll go next to Vahe Gregorian. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Andy. Kelsey, I'll have a follow-up also. Andy, by now you've won so many of these games close like that you must have great confidence into the last minute, just assuming believing you'll pull through. But I do wonder what it's like, the stress of the situation is like, even if you feel like you'll pull through somehow. What's that like for you in the last minute of all these games?
Yeah. It's so much stress I can't talk, Vahe. Listen, it's I don't think you get used to it. You don't want it to come down to that. You're trying to score as many points as you obviously can, but we're that's how things go. But the trust that the guys have in each other, I know that's easy to say, but when you actually have that, the guys know that something's good is going to happen. Becomes very important, and but you surely don't want it to come down to that.
Yeah, and thanks, Andy. And the other thing is, it's really another point on Patrick, just that he spoke last night about wondering a little bit himself about his own footwork and maybe relying too much on his arm. Is that something that you've seen, or something that you think you'll be talking to him about?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine there. Just getting him in rhythm, I think, is an important thing. And that encompasses all of that stuff, the footwork and the knee bend and the, his drop and so on. So, and then, the more we secure things up front also helps. And so he came off a game where he had to get the ball out quickly last week with the pressure that was on him. But I thought the offensive line did a nice job here, and I think Pat will see that, and that also helps the situation.
We'll go next to Seren Petro. Seren?
And Kelsey, I'll have a follow-up as well. Coach, I know on Pat's interception into the end zone, it looked like maybe he was, he had pressure coming on him definitely, and was trying to maybe get the ball out maybe a little bit earlier than he wanted to. I know quarterbacks always like more time, right? Like, if you can get it for him, but is there something there that, maybe he forced it a little bit and is trying to make a play, and maybe that's when he throws away, and instead of going ahead and trying to put one out there?
Yeah, well, we should have had the protection for him. We botched the protection. So, or that's a touchdown right there.
Okay. So, and then Xavier Worthy, I know you've said there's a lot to clean up. You've mentioned some route things. You haven't mentioned anyone specifically, so I'm not trying to pick on him, but where is he now in, the nuances of your offense, of maybe bending away from safety help and, curling routes, doing it sitting down and those kind of things that are required of your receivers, in his evolution of where you want him to be? Is he 50% of the way there, 60, 80? I mean, how would you evaluate that?
Yeah, no, he's doing a great job with that. I pulled off on a couple of the routes just with some of the things they were doing, but he had a number of routes there in the first 15. I chose to pull off them because of what they were doing. So, but he can, he's doing a nice job for us. He'll have other games here where he has more grabs. He did a nice job with the quick game stuff though, that we were using him on.
We'll go next to Pete Sweeney. Pete?
Coach, just wondering your assessment of Wanye upon second look, and whether or not
that can kind of be assumed to be the status quo, at least moving forward for the short term here?
Yeah, listen, I thought Wanya did some good things in there. So we'll probably stick with that same thing. You saw where Kingsley rotated in and played some tight end and that. So he was able to get some good reps in there. And then again, Wanya, had the good reps at the left tackle spot. So do they both have stuff to work on? Yes. So we'll keep they're young guys. They're young guys in a tough position with a tough go here, and they've got another good one coming here this week. So that they've got to prep for a couple good ones. So we've got to make sure we keep growing, but they're surely getting tested early.
Looks like we have 3 more. We'll go first to Todd Lebo. Todd?
Coach, I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about what you saw from Rashee Rice getting so many targets. I know you throw to whoever's open, but is it ideal to have him getting that many targets, or would you like to spread around a little bit more?
Well, I mentioned to you, how Rashee's game goes is kind of how Kelsey's goes. So what they're doing is they're working hard at taking Kels out of the picture. and Kels is going, hey, listen, if they're going to do that, then Rashee's going to get a lot of catches. He knows that. And but somewhere that levels off, and that like it did the second half, and Kelsey's catch numbers went up there. So, but Rashee's he's a force in there. I mean, he's a good football player, and he's tough when he has the ball in his hands. So I'm sure he'll be getting a lot more attention as we go.
We'll go next to Matt Derrick. Matt?
Hey, Coach, a couple of questions. But one, you kind of referenced the stopped route that Xavier had on that last drive when near the end zone trying to get out. How much of that is still just you've got a lot of young guys in that receiver room that Patrick's still getting to learn and getting to know and building chemistry with, that you have little miscommunications like that?
Yeah, that actually wasn't him. That was his compadre. So ran the wrong route. So he just stopped so he didn't run into him. But yeah. But they Pat checked to a play there, and the communication got a little mixed up. So one of the routes wasn't the right route.
And
it wasn't his, so
I appreciate that clarification. And defensively, this defense has talked a lot about in the past games about, killing the engine as far as stopping the other team's run game. Even in this day and era, how important is that when your defense is able, as it has really the last 3 games, to be able to stop a lead running back that's been doing pretty good on the other team?
Yeah, no, that kid's a heck of a runner. They got 2 good runners. And I thought we stepped up and did a nice job there. Up front, I started naming off the guys last night, but I mean it's really all of them collectively. That whole front 7 is just doing a nice job of, and the safeties too. We're being accurate with our tackles there. So that's and physical, which has been good.
We'll close things out with Matt McMullen. Matt?
Hey, Coach, you mentioned how wins are hard in the NFL. Well, you won your 132nd game as head coach of the Chiefs last night, and that's actually more wins than you had with the Eagles, which is pretty remarkable considering all the success you had there. I know you don't normally get wrapped up in this kind of thing, but what's that mean to you?
Yeah, it means I've been around a lot of good players and good coaches. It's not as you know, it's not a one-man show. Been lucky to be with 2 great organizations, and then you're only as good as your next one. So that's how this thing works. So it really doesn't matter what took place in the past. When you're in the present here, man, you gotta stay on top of your game, and that's all of us. And we know we're getting everybody's best shot. And there's a funny stat that goes with that. I mean, since 2006, the record for teams coming off 2 home wins to start the season, going into game 3 and winning game 3. There's been 3 out of 13 that have done that. Well, now 4 out of 14, but 3 out of 13 going into our game that had done that. So 10 of them went home not happy. And so staying on top of your game becomes an important thing. There's a certain mindset that goes with that. And however it gets done, whatever phase of the game or person picks it up to make it happen becomes an important thing. So, when I look at these things and I pick out the positives, that's what I'm looking at. We'll work on the negatives. But the night of the game after a win, I'm gonna pick out the positives, but the boys know that when we get back, we'll make sure that we take care of business and try to get ourselves better, which we all know we need to do.
Thank you, Coach. That's all we
All
have
right,
for you.
so that's Chiefs head coach Andy Reid exclusively on a Monday here on 96.5 The Fan, home for the Chiefs. A couple of things stood out. One would be in particular that, and understandably so based on performance, there he said he would probably stick with the rotation at left tackle. Now, I don't think it was a real rotation. Wanye Morris was the starting left tackle for this football team. Kingsley was in there on some third downs when they brought in an extra offensive lineman. I don't know if it's fair to say it was a full-blown rotation by any means. But Wanye Morris, he held his own. I don't know if you feel great about that position by any means, but he held his own. He wasn't really discussed much during the game last night, which is always a good thing. He didn't stand out, which is usually a good thing. And so that is going to be your left tackle for the time being, which is what we acknowledged.
As far as I'm concerned.
We acknowledged, that was why I didn't think ultimately they would make the switch from Kingsley to Wanye, frankly, because you're not switching back to Kingsley unless Wanye gets hurt or something. It's just now you're basically saying that the rookie you drafted that won the battle out of camp is not going to start. And I don't know unless I missed something when we were up at camp every single day, or just about every single day. Last night during the broadcast, Chris Collinsworth kept mentioning, Wanye had this knee injury during preseason. If he didn't have that knee injury, he would have been the starter week 1. I would love to know, was that the spin that he was told during his meetings? Because that was not the scenario by everybody that covered the team. I'll tell you that here in Kansas City. Kingsley was always working as the number 1 during camp. So the notion Wanye's knee prevented him from being the starter week 1, I don't think that's accurate. I don't know if that was just miscommunicated by Collinsworth, or that was what he was told in their meetings, which is interesting because that was not how they operated during training camp.
Correct. That was not the way that it was discussed at all here in Kansas City. Some of this, I think, is a little CYA. I think it's a little cover your ass, because go back to just this most recent press conference when Andy Reid just tried to cover what he told us on Friday, which is they would rotate left tackles. And when on Friday we told you they're never going to do that because the team's never done that, Andy tried to claim that they did that just now, and they didn't, okay? It doesn't really matter, but they didn't do that. Bringing in an extra tackle on short yardage situation is not rotating him in. That's the same as bringing in any tackle or any extra guard in a short yardage situation. The starting left tackle is Wanye Morris. He did a nice job. So unless his play turns bad in a hurry or he gets hurt, Wanye Morris is going to be this year's starting left tackle for the entire season, which means back-to-back years where one of your top 2 picks is in a redshirt year. Kingsley Suamataia, not really likely to play much, if at all, this year. Last year, Felix Anudike-Uzomah didn't really play much. The year before that, everybody played except for Sky Moore, who was a second-round guy. But, for the most part, they've had at least one guy a year who's kind of kicking it for a little bit out of the first 2 picks, which is fine, just as long as you've got enough of a talented roster of the guys to cover. I'm not offended. I want them to play the better left tackle, but at the same time, it just feels like the future plan, which we don't have to worry about now, feels way murkier than what we were discussing a month ago.
Andy was also asked about that interception that Mahomes threw where it was underthrown and Worthy kind of had to come back to try to break it up and play defender. Otherwise it was they botched the this was on the actual interception. My apologies. He botched the protection on the offensive line there. On Patrick's interception, they should have had a touchdown. So let me restate that. Not the interception that Worthy made, not an interception in terms of breaking it up, if that makes sense, as I'm probably not making a whole lot of sense. I apologize there. The actual interception that Mahomes threw should have been a touchdown according to Andy Reid. Protection was botched.
I need to go back and watch that play.
Not the
because that just looked like a
Worthy
bad
touchdown.
read to.
Yeah.
I mean, like upon watching it live, it just looked like Mahomes didn't see Justin Simmons coming all the way across the field. And truth be told, Justin Simmons kind of had his ass in his career. He's got 5 or 6 picks against him.
Protection maybe led to the underthrow, I guess, on that. And then they were fortunate there wasn't the other another interception where it looked to be underthrown to Xavier Worthy. But 2 different plays. But either way, there was a couple times protection. There was a 3rd and 1 where Mahomes originally it was a run call and then maybe checked to something else and then tried to check back. And then the offensive line was still pass protecting, which led to them getting stuffed on a 3rd and 1.
The offensive line was pass protecting, and they did a shotgun delayed handoff on 3rd and 1, and I wanted to, leap into oncoming traffic. So, but that was like part of that was just a straight miscommunication. Maybe the play would have worked if half of the line wasn't in pass pro. Mitchell Schwartz actually did a really good job breaking that play down.
Yeah, he's a great follow during the games.
Sometimes people get you. Like there's no, I don't get offended sometimes. Sometimes the other team also makes a nice play. Like Jesse Bates when he broke up that pass to Travis Kelce. I wasn't mad because Travis Kelce didn't get that 3rd down reception late in the game, in the 4th quarter, at a pivotal moment when a 1st down can make the difference between them having 2 less minutes of game time or not. Jesse Bates made a nice play. He was covered well on Travis Kelce, and then he got his hand in there somehow to break up the pass play. Sometimes they get you. And on that play, if you look, I just watched it. He doesn't get to step into that throw did not have the juice on it. It feels like it should have had. But still, it just feels like another one of those. Mahomes had 3 straight games this season where you're like, oh, no, not that pick. Oh, no, not there, right? So, you want those to start reducing as time goes on. I know other people are tweeting about the numbers. We can get into that later. But, I know people are talking about, the number of sacks or the number of interceptions he's thrown or, is it the anti-Titan?
Yeah, look, Mahomes was on. I mean, in postgame, Mahomes was
pretty honest.
Quoted as saying, I have to get my base right. I'm trusting my arm too much. I got to get back to my fundamentals. So he's not right. What causes that? I think he said that's something that usually happens later on in the season, and then he has to get back to it. Usually he doesn't start the season with some of these issues. It's happening sooner this year than it typically does. So I don't think anybody really is all that concerned. He hasn't been playing sharp, but is anybody actually concerned that he's not going to figure it out? Give me a break. So that's something
the guy
that
who's won back-to-back Super Bowls.
Not really that concerned that he doesn't make adjustments and get going.
I know for the most part, I think we're probably on a spectrum of how much we think it matters. QB wins. So do you take anything into the fastest, most wins in first 100 career starts? 77. That's the most all time out of any other quarterback. Because I don't think you can both be like QB wins mean nothing. And then throw this stat out there because there is something to it. I think QB wins have been overvalued, but now we've probably gone too far to the other side, like running backs,
probably
where we pretend like they don't mean anything.
It's probably fair. I would say in the context of that particular stat, when you're saying, hey, we think QB wins may or may not be overinflated or overvalued. But when you're talking about doing something that's never been done or the fastest, I think there's something to be said with that. Even if you think wins are QB wins is a bad stat to use to justify a quarterback's play.
I think it's bad if you justify it on its own.
Right. But in this circumstance, when you're talking about hey, doing something that was faster than even Dan Marino and these other quarterbacks, I think that says something. Now, if you're going to just say flat out and we're comparing in a 2-year or 3-year sample size, let's just use Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts, and you're just going to look at the wins, and that's how you're going to decide who's ranking out the quarterbacks. That's, to me, a mistake. I told you, we've used this example plenty of times. Alex Smith, if all you based it on was there was a 4-year stretch where Alex Smith was the second-best quarterback in football then.
Yeah, and I don't think
anybody actually believes that.
No, I think it's to me, it's a little like running back where there's just some nuance. A QB win is not an unimportant stat because having the ability to win is not nothing. Like winning, because that means you won close games, you won games at the end, you managed, you held on to things, you held on the ball long enough to prevent the other team. But it feels to me like it's more a joint stat. It speaks more about the relationship between the coach and the quarterback in the organization than just speaking about the quarterback. I don't think Patrick Mahomes breaks this record if it's not Andy Reid right alongside of him. If his coach was, let's just use Drew's guy, Zach Taylor, do I still think he has 68 wins, 69 wins? Yeah, man, probably. I'm not an idiot. I bet he still has plenty of wins, maybe more than that even, right? but maybe not the all-time record for most wins in their first 100 career starts. Like, he's only better by one game than the guys you just mentioned. I just, like, it's in the in-between where it's not nothing, but, it, you know, like, I don't want to just dismiss that stat like, oh, good for you, QB wins don't mean anything. But, I mean, I also think that there's, like, a lot of context you need when you start throwing around wins. That's all.
I think it'll be it's not enough to be a part of the conversation, I don't think, but the Matt Nagy versus EB thing, Carrington yesterday had brought up, since the Tyreek Hill trade, Mahomes has had 36 starts, 30 picks. Somebody said since Eric Bieniemy was gone, Mahomes has had a ratio of 29 touchdowns to 18 interceptions. And again, I think part of it's decision-making and all this other stuff.
Context matters. As, you know, I saw that, and that's everybody's prerogative to put out whatever
I just thought it was an interesting
stats they want. I think this is where context matters, because also during that stretch, what was the wide receiver room? We just acknowledged that Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and MVS were their top 3 wide receivers going into a football season. We all know who's that on.
Sure,
you know
but that doesn't mean that this year are we going to use the same excuse if he?
No, you're already trying to build up what the narrative is later. You asked me
I just said
this.
that I don't think this is a narrative yet.
Yeah,
I just said that.
I hear you.
I
do hear you. But
we don't need to make anything of it yet. But it's interesting to. It's something that just stands out and is noticeable. It's not. It doesn't mean anything.
Drew, I hear you. But you brought up a stat. I gave my opinion on said stat. So like it was interesting enough to bring it up, and so I'm just giving you my opinion on it. I'm saying context matters if somebody's going to just like during this 17 game stretch of this guy as an OC or not, like it's not as simple as just like, well, here it is. Like context matters. Who were the wide receivers in that point in time? Who were the opponents they were going up during that time?
Mm-hmm.
What if was anybody else hurt? Were you out an offensive lineman? I don't think it's. I'm just saying it's not your stats, so I get it. I don't think it's fair just to put out there like blindly.
Sure.
Under this OC and under this OC for 17 games, here was this quarterback's touchdown to interception ratio. There needs to be a much deeper conversation. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's more, again, just as we talked about with QB wins, nuanced than just as simple as here are the facts and what does it look like outside of that. Someone did say on the text line from the 816, Alex Smith would be a $64 million a year quarterback. Honestly, he'd probably get paid $60 million a year at some point or $50 million a year. He'd be paid just like he was. He was a mid-tier starter. And there's lots of teams love themselves a good mid-tier starter. But because of a result of that, most of the time, you just get capped out on playoff appearance, maybe a home playoff game, if in a good year, an AFC title game, and then that's kind of the end of the road. That's why the Chiefs obviously eventually made the shift to Patrick Mahomes, and we're living in the single greatest Chiefs era of all time. It's nice.
Did you see that Swifties are not happy with Patrick Mahomes?
Because what, he's not throwing it to Travis enough?
Yes.
Get out of here. Come on, Swifties, you don't have to do this. Like, I'm not looking to pick a fight.
Boy.
Don't get me wrong.
Boy.
That'd be like picking a fight with Kendrick Lamar if you're another rapper. I'm not
It
trying to.
might be worse.
I'm not trying to pick
It
a
might be
fight,
worse.
Swifties. I'm just saying, long season. It's cool. Everything's fine. We can wait to pick that fight later if you still want to, but I think it'll be okay. Again, you and I both said at some point, I expect, Travis
You can
Kelce
start having
to right the
TikTok
ship.
videos on conspiracy theories of Mahomes not throwing to Kelsey because of.
They're going to show, oh man, they probably already dug into the times when he's open and he didn't
Oh, yeah,
throw
I
it.
bet so.
Like in the Wanye touchdown, he's just wide open in the back of the end zone. But it's more fun to throw to Wanye. This isn't an anti-Travis thing. It's just more fun to throw to the offensive lineman who's open. That's all. Also, I'm pretty sure that's who the ball's supposed to go to on that play.
Oh, it's designed for Wanye last week.
Well, yeah, it was absolutely designed for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that's absolutely who they drew the play up for. It just so happened Kelsey was also open. What a bummer that would have been if he just would have thrown it to him instead.
Yeah, I'd say it's slightly.
I was a little irritated though because they did have I fell into the pit of Travis Kelsey anytime touchdown last night, and they had the ball in the red zone. I was like, come on, man, just give it to your guy one time. He didn't even target him.
Nope. He's been for all their red zone troubles. Boy, do they love an end around direct snap. It's always the same stuff. Andy thinks you can't score in the red zone unless
Mahomes
you're
is
creative.
playing wide receiver, yeah.
Andy thinks you can't score in the red zone unless you're creative. That's been a long-standing thing for him, and it's getting
that particular one though. I mean, you won't even do a quarterback sneak with Patrick Mahomes. Do you think the opponent is actually worrying about Patrick Mahomes motioning out to wide receiver? You think they're actually concerned? And I know you'll be like, well, one of these days. We've been saying it about the QB sneak for 4 years, and they haven't gone back to it. It's like I just had it hard to believe that a defense is taking the quarterback, in this case Mahomes, motioning to wide receiver seriously when they know you won't even let him QB sneak it. You think they're going to actually let you throw a football up in the air to him so he can just get knocked out by a defender while they're trying to break up the pass? Because a defender at the 1 yard line will still, if it means knocking Mahomes out of the game, they'll take the DPI in that moment. You don't want to get a free shot as a wide receiver. Don't need Jesse Bates getting a free shot. Although I'll give the Falcons credit, unlike some other teams that have not acknowledged losses. Did you hear Justin Simmons after the game yesterday?
That was why they lost.
He's like, yeah, that PI penalty. Look, that's not why we lost the game. Much respect to him.
Same.
Versus other players on other teams. The first 2 weeks of the season haven't been able to just take the L and move on. They've tried to make excuses constantly. Cam Taylor-Britt, others.
Whoa,
Isaiah
Isaiah
Likely.
Made
There were some excuses made on that end.
by the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear them talking about penalties.
Fans will always make excuses.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's different. That's definitely different.
All right, up next, we will talk a little bit about the Royals. 7 losses in a row. It's gotten very, very sad at this point in time. Is there any hope? We'll discuss it next.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at bluekc.com.
COVID-19 cases are on the rise, and peak flu season is almost here. Save time and get the updated COVID-19 vaccine and your flu shot at the same time at Hy-Vee. Schedule your updated COVID-19 vaccine and flu shot online today, or just stop by any Hy-Vee pharmacy whenever it's convenient for you. No appointment necessary. Plus, when you get your flu shot at Hy-Vee, earn a 20-cent fuel saver. Your Hy-Vee pharmacy is here to help you and your family stay healthy. Some restrictions apply.
Fall's coming. You have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve, so this fall make a plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Infinity or Showcase Interior Paint via Lowe's gift card rebate. Whether you're painting one accent wall or want to freshen up a whole room, we've got you covered. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. Valid through 9/4.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Mitch Holtish, voice of the Chiefs. Everyone develops cataracts naturally as they get older. When your vision is affected by cataracts, you should see my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein at Silverstein Eye Centers. Dr. Silverstein is a world-renowned cataract surgeon who performs life-changing laser-assisted cataract surgery with premium lens implants to correct your vision up close and far away. Trust my eye doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein, Silverstein Eye Centers, 816-358-3600 to schedule an appointment.
Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, as the official whiskey sponsor of the NFL, it's not a kickoff without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. And that's why we've built the Crown Royal Rig, an absurdly awesome 18-wheeler delivering the generous spirit to stadiums and tailgates across the country. Follow the Royal Rig on its journey from city to city, bringing together local cuisine, NFL legends, and the opportunity to pack a purple bag for charity and win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more. Please drink responsibly.
Fall's coming. You have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve, so this fall make a plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Infinity or Showcase Interior Paint via Lowe's gift card rebate. Whether you're painting one accent wall or want to freshen up a whole room, we've got you covered. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. Valid through 9/4.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Let's face it. Nowadays, most companies have to rely on dozens of expensive, disconnected platforms to run their business. And even then, things can get a little, well, stressful. But with Odoo's all-in-one management software, packed with a suite of fully integrated business applications, every process is streamlined. Tasks are automated, and success is just a few clicks away. See how Odoo can take your business to the next level at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Using the Labor Day weekend to get some work done? We got you. Stop by any store to save on oil, fuel system cleaner, wipers, and more. Looking for an end of summer wash? We've got deals for that too. Don't want to leave the garage? Get same-day delivery on AutoZone.com. Do Labor Day your way by getting something done at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Dury Vision. Schedule your free consultation today. DuryVision.com.
Imagine seeing better than you ever have, maybe without contacts or glasses. That's what I do now, thanks to Dury Vision. And right now, it's a great time to call them up with their Friends and Family Savings Event, where you can save up to $1,000 on LASIK. DuryVision.com or 913-491-3330. Coming up in 10 minutes or so, we'll get to the random question of the day, as we do each and every day right here on Cody and Gold. You can interact with us on the J. Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. We also took some calls earlier. We can do that a little bit later on. Your thoughts on the game. We even had caller John from Overland Park, who's a Bills fan, calling earlier and said, the Chiefs might get the 3-peat. You're going to get it, but you won't get the 4-peat. Now, you're in 3 in a row, but you won't get the 4-peat. That was an actual call earlier. Brought up the calls again. Let's go back out to the phone line. John in OP wants to talk about the Chiefs, I guess, getting the advantage from the refs. What's going on, John? You're on Cody and Gold.
Yes, the Chiefs always get the advantage. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Okay.
You guys win the 3-peat, you're not winning the 4.
Dun, dun,
Such
dun.
a Bills fan thing to say, too. You guys might get to 3. It's not even that you guys won't even get to 3. It's you guys might get there, but you won't get 4.
You're going to get
It's a
that
Bills
first.
fan thing.
You're going to get that historical 3-peat that's never happened in NFL history. But damn it, you're not getting a 4th.
But the buck stops there.
Not on my watch.
Not on my watch. It's not as, like, I think it's one of those things when he says it, there's just no way that he heard it. But at the same time, like, oh my God. Like, okay. Like, even us in Kansas City, where I pretty much will not settle for I pretty much will not settle for like, oh, what if they get 2 more titles, but then they don't win anymore? Like, I'll just play it out. Because the Chiefs fan, you have to play it out. If you guaranteed me they won the Super Bowl this year, but they didn't get the 4-peat, okay.
Yeah, you'll take the 3
You know what?
Never happened.
Sold. Right here, right now, I'm willing to forego next year's Super Bowl championship if you can guarantee the Chiefs the 3-peat this year. Look, they are off to a good start to it. It's hard to argue with the way that it's been going, even though imperfect, they are still right where they want to be. So
let's also get to, though, the reality across the parking lot. 6 games to go.
But it's bumming me out.
Oh, it's sad now. We've reached a level, like, there's anger, I think, for a lot of people, but it's also just kind of gotten sad. A team that won 56 a year ago, a team that has been in a playoff spot for months in terms of just the standings, that had a nice cushion, that, yes, lost a 100 RBI guy in Vinny Pasquantino, but then found a way to stabilize it for a week or two, that now they have lost 7 in a row, including those games in the final homestand of the season. They hadn't been swept at home all year. They end their season at home getting swept both times. 7 in a row, still in a playoff spot, barely, hanging on for their dear lives with 3 against the Nats and 3 against the Braves on the horizon. Thank goodness today's an off day. Man, oh man. It's sad now, man. It's sad, pathetic, whatever you want to use. Like, this team has 0 offense whatsoever. And like, I can't blame anybody that's like, well, why do I think tomorrow's going to be any different? I can't blame you.
No, I don't know. Just life changes sometimes. I mean, I'm looking for anything that's going to make me think the tides can turn. We're all doing the same stuff. Like, what jinx, reverse, hex nonsense, sacrifice does this show, does this city, do any of us need to do in order to make this thing better? But the truth is, right now, this would be the single biggest choke job in Royals history, because they haven't had that many playoff runs in general. They've had a lot of trouble overall. And while I know that they're coming off a bad season last year, they're in a playoff spot, and they have 2 different 7-game losing streaks this month. So I just want you to put that in concept. If in each of those 2 7-game losing streaks, they eked out 1 yesterday when the bases were loaded and they were only down 2-0 and Salvador Perez was up to the dish, he smacks a homer one time, they win it. And then in the previous 7-game losing streak, right after Vinny got hurt, they win one of those. So just 2. I'm not changing the math on everything gold. I'm saying in a 7-game losing streak, you won 1. They'd have almost no chance to miss the playoffs. They'd be 3 games up on the second wild card, 2 games up on the Tigers with the tiebreak with 6 games to go. They almost couldn't be eliminated from the playoffs. It took this level of bad to even threaten it. And now, I don't know, we could talk about this. I think they got to go bare minimum 3-3 to be a postseason team now. No more of this 2-4 now. I think bare minimum 3-3 to be a postseason team this year. I would argue 4-2 is pretty much a lock for you, but 3-3 bare minimum to get into a postseason spot. And that's terrifying for a team that's now lost 7 in a row.
Yeah, the Twin, I'm sure in Minnesota, I haven't listened to any sports talk radio in Minneapolis here recently. I'm assuming in Minnesota, they're saying kind of the same thing. Like, this team has been playing terrible baseball. Thank goodness the Royals are doing this right now. Otherwise, we'd for sure be out. I'm sure they're saying that in Minneapolis, much like we're saying, man, thank goodness the Twins also been playing some pathetic baseball. But the Royals have been one of the worst offenses in baseball since Vinny got out with the injury. And
maybe the worst. I mean, I have to look it up, but maybe the worst.
And there's no replacing that. We knew that at the time. But to have this drastic of a shift is honestly kind of mind-boggling. It really is. Like, I get it. It's easier to navigate the lineup when you don't have that. So you don't have to approach Vinny, or you don't have to approach Bobby or Salvi the same way. But to get nothing out of your lineup. What did they score on the homestand? It was like 5 runs?
Yeah, well, they scored 1 each of the last. They scored 0 yesterday, 1 the day before. So
I think like 5.
I'm not even sure
something
it was 5.
like over the entire homestand. I don't know. During the in
the homestand, not the home series this weekend.
Homestand.
I'm sorry. I was like, I think they scored like 1 run.
No. Homestand.
Over the weekend.
The final homestand of the season.
Because that's what sucks. They've been such a good home team this year. Their offense is a better fit for Kaufman. All the normal things you would come to expect, and the pitching has given more than a chance to win. Like, the pitching is certainly keeping them alive. They scored 1 run against the Giants. They scored more in the homestand because they scored 6 in a loss against the Tigers on Monday, but then 1 and 2 in the previous. So in the last 5 games, they've only managed 4 runs. So they are averaging less than 1 run per game over the last 4 games. And in those games, they had great performances from Chris Bubich, Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans. Like, Waka had a pretty good start. Like, they had plenty of good pitching over the course of that stretch in which they could have won games. They lost 1-3, 2-4, 1-2, 2-0. Like, they're not 6-7. They weren't just getting walked out of the door. They just needed one more run. The 3-4 the game before that against the Pirates. But that's what happens when you've just lost all confidence. My fear is, can they find it again? After the last 7-game losing streak, they won a game, and when they could breathe for a second, they played some relaxed, good baseball for a stretch. Can they recover from this one? They see their playoffs slipping away. Slipping away.
Yeah, there's no hiding from it. They're well aware of the situation they have put themselves in. They're well aware of how they're playing.
Yeah.
I thought last Thursday's off day hopefully was going to be what you just described, though, Cody. I thought
just a
last
chance to
Thursday,
breathe.
find a way to win on Friday, then take a deep breath and settle in. And, of course, that did not happen. Now they're off today. Then they're on the road the rest of the way. They're in D.C. beginning tomorrow. They're going to take on a Nationals team that has been better in the second half than they were earlier. Young team. But their best player, one of their best players, they just sent down. C.J. Abrams just got sent down by the Nationals because they were playing a day game against the Cubs in Chicago.
Story.
And there's a photo of him at 8 a.m. before a 1 p.m. game, I think it was, in Chicago, spending an all-nighter at the casino.
Who amongst us
he was on a heater.
hasn't been into the tables till 8 a.m.?
Look, normally I'd say, hey, I get it. Don't get up from a heater. Problem is, someone else. The real lesson here. The real lesson here is not just that. Hey, the Nationals are sending him a message that, hey, if you want to, if you want to be taken seriously and become a superstar, you got to take this sport more seriously the day before a game. There's that lesson. There's also the lesson that, man, why are you playing roulette? Why are you playing roulette? It's not slots, but not great odds, man. Play craps, play blackjack. What are you doing here?
I guess real question is, couldn't he, the night before, so this is not performance-based, the night before he went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a very, very, very good player. Couldn't you just bench him for a game and give him the old stern talking to? You got to sit him down?
I think they have a really young team, and they're trying to send a message, no matter how good you are, this is the expectation within our organization. I think that's the message that who's the GM? Is that Rizzo or whatever?
Mm-hmm, Rizzo.
That they're trying to send in DC.
They're also probably worried that we got to stop this now, or then it's really going to get out of control. I'll say what he just did. Like a Tuesday night in the 90s.
At this point, maybe
that's a Tuesday night in the 1980s. Are you kidding me? That's a nothing. That's a nothing during different eras of sport. But now that people have social media and photos.
I mean, look, we said earlier in the show on the Royals end, no idea is a bad idea anymore to get out of this slump and to survive and find a way to still get in. Look, maybe the team needs a loose night. You know what? Take everybody to the casino. Maybe pay off Cody's bet. You do all of it. Whatever you need. Everything's on the table. Maybe they do need to spend the night out till 8 a.m. and be a little hungover. Anything works at this point.
That's the Varsity Blues argument. They lost that game, dude.
I understand.
You're essentially describing the night in Varsity Blues. They lost that game. They drank too much. They stayed out late. They went to a strip club. They lost that game.
What's worse? They lose 8 in a row instead of 7 in a row?
Yeah. Look, they do need some looseness. Why don't you make them a song? Let's mix it up.
Yeah.
Let's get an Alex Gold song for tomorrow,
Definitely not happening.
Let's change it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for a change.
You made a song and you said they're basically saying they're going to make it. The song was about they're going to make it.
I stand by that.
And if the playoffs were today or tomorrow, they would make it. But I'm with you. I think 3-3 at bare minimum just to give you a chance over the next 6. But I get for people listening, like you're saying they're going to win 3 games. They've lost 7 in a row. What makes you think they're going to win 3? It all starts, of course, tomorrow against the Nationals when Cole Reagans is on the bump. But I don't
got the right guy in the mound.
I don't care if it's Reagans, Lugo. I said earlier it could be Reagans, Lugo, Pedro Martinez, and Randy Johnson the rest of the way. They're not scoring any runs. I don't really care who the starting pitcher is right now.
The problem is, by the time they actually score runs, can they get more scoreless outings out of their bullpen?
Yeah.
Because what's missed in this losing streak is the bullpen's not getting its ass kicked. Bullpen's been fine. All the pitching's been fine. The bullpen's actually been doing a pretty solid job. Keeping things close, keeping the team in it, giving them a chance. But, yeah, it's tough. Our guy Ben Heisler suggested I get a cardboard cutout like that one from Major League where just slowly reveals my body parts. Look, if someone can get it printed off by tomorrow, I'll take a shirtless I'll take a photo in my underwear, and we can peel those things off for every win for you, Alex. but someone's got to get that thing printed by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So unless somebody's got that kind of skill set, I'm not going to have that ready.
Threw up in my mouth a little bit.
It's been tough. It's been really tough.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over in the text line, 913-586-7965. We'll, of course, take your answers over on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, where we live stream the show all 4 hours every day. Question I have for you today is like a personal unenjoyment of something, and I'm curious if I was on my own because it's been too long, or if everyone agreed with me. So I saw a trailer. It's been everywhere on every single platform for Joker 2. Right, they're getting ready to release the second Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I thought the first one kind of stunk.
I never saw it.
And then I was like, wait, am I alone on this? So I wanted to ask the people, 913-586-7965. What was your enjoyment of the first Joker movie, and do you want to see the second one? I have no interest in the second one due to the fact I didn't know it stunk, but I thought his performance was fine and the rest of the movie was blah. So I wasn't blown away. I can't believe you didn't see it. That feels like a movie that'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, I did not see it. I know it was very popular. It did over like $1 billion in the box office. But no, I did not actually see the 2019 movie Joker.
You didn't see it?
So you didn't like it, though. You're a real encouraging sign for me to go see it. You're telling me you didn't think it was any good.
I don't know. I mean, so T Nolte over on Twitch says, nah, it was great. Little slow, though, but great. Another person just said they straight up didn't see it or wasn't bad. Wasn't bad is not a ringing endorsement for a sequel-based movie.
No.
Wasn't bad. I don't want to see any sequel of a movie that wasn't bad. I'm looking for something a little more like difficult. Drew, have you seen it? Maybe I should have checked to see who saw this movie.
Okay, I have not seen it, and the reason why...
I should ask a different question. I figured one of you guys had seen it. It was a very popular movie.
The reason why is I think it's the Heath Ledger thing, is that there is only one person who should play Joker, and it is Heath Ledger, and I don't want anything to do with anybody else who is trying to play Joker.
That's actually a really good point. I think of a lot of people.
There's one guy that hit a home run, and I don't want to see anybody else trying to portray him.
I think that's fair.
Someone says, I thought the first movie was one of the best movies I've ever seen, so they loved it. This next person said Joker sucked. It was so boring. The first Joker was depressing and sucked. 2 thumbs down. But then the next person after that said thought it was great. You know how this is. There's always a movie that is just like, not like people are like, it's fine, but people either loved it or they thought that movie stunk. And when you're on the opposite side of that, it always feels like there's a big dividing line. I'm sure that there's an example of a movie that you felt that way too.
The consensus, I think, around the first Joker movie was you had to go in, if you didn't know, if you thought going in it was going to be anything like the Dark Knight movies, it wasn't at all like that. It was a very depressing movie is what it seemed like from other people talking about it, actually. Like you had to go in kind of knowing that. Somebody said they think you didn't like it because you kept critiquing the Joker's crimes and how it should have been done.
No, it wasn't it. I was just I saw that they were making a sequel. And I'm like, hey, we need a sequel for this. Like, also a sequel. So like the movie is an origin story of the Joker, and now I'm getting a sequel for the origin story. That's just so. Eventually, are you just going to make a Batman movie then? I guess where he's the full blown Joker. Like, what's the next step into the? I don't know. It just didn't.
Yeah, but they're cranking out these movies so quickly. Now it's all about money more and more with all these. I know we've talked about even Marvel and stuff like that in the recent like a lot of that is just there's so many different movies now on purpose based off of just the financial element of it. Like I feel like we're not even getting the quality. It's a quantity thing going on with a lot of these at this point.
This is more so. I guess if you could describe the movie in the way that you would describe it, other than just like the trailers, what would you say it is?
Okay,
it's almost like a biopic of the Joker and how he gets to that.
It's not a Batman movie. I don't think it was meant to be that. It is an origin story about how the Joker becomes the Joker, and essentially it's just he's clinically depressed. His life stinks. He thinks everyone's out to get him. Some people are out to get him a little bit, and then eventually he starts doing some awful stuff because he's got nothing left to lose. And he's probably also mentally unstable, as you would imagine with somebody who is eventually the Joker. But it was like, again, like the movies that are the toughest for me from a good movie perspective is I think Joaquin Phoenix is a good actor. I think he does a nice, convincing job playing this person. They just banked the whole movie on the idea that he's a good actor, and they put no other juice behind it. No storyline that moves along. It just kind of fell flat. What's the last movie where you were like, you loved it and you couldn't believe other people didn't? There's always examples of that.
Boy, oh boy. Most of the movies that I've seen recently, though, have always been just kind of like the bigger blockbuster ones. As far as more the out there movies, it's been many years. I told you, now since, I don't know, the last year and a half or so, like I probably go to 2 or 3 movies a year max in theaters now. The rest I just watch at home or wait till they're available at home. Like I think if you have kids, you're more likely to have gone to a movie theater in the last 3 weeks or something.
I mean, I've got kids, so obviously I get there every once in a while.
Yeah.
The last time Brie and I went to a movie theater was 2019.
2019.
Whoa. I've got more to say to that.
2019 was the last time you went to a movie?
Because everything's
now we're getting to a whole different conversation. Are you kidding? That's crazy.
Dead serious. Everything's accessible now. So, like, it wasn't a movie to me. One movie that I wanted to see in theaters that I didn't was Oppenheimer, but I've seen it now, and everything's accessible now. For the most part, you just wait a little bit, and you can watch it on whatever subscription service. There's a lot of the Marvel movies post Endgame haven't had the greatest reviews.
But I thought some were more enjoyable than they let on. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy movies, but then you look at like the Rotten Tomato reviews, and they're like 31% of people approved it. They get like 4 stars, and I think that the movie actually is okay. A lot of the Avengers or the Marvel ones post Endgame.
So I guess you're not going to go see Joker 2, is what you're telling me.
No.
No need to.
I feel like I need to see the first one first. I suppose
we can have difference of opinions. We don't have to like movies the same, you know. The next movie I'll probably go end up seeing in theater is that kids robot
I never
movie,
saw
I'm
that.
sure.
I haven't seen the new Twister movie. I didn't go in theaters for that. I'll watch it on Amazon or whenever it's already out there. Maybe.
But that feels like you guys don't think that there's some movies that deserve to be on a big screen. Twisters is an action movie. I feel like I'm supposed to.
Like any new Bond movie, I'm seeing in theaters.
I thought Oppenheimer deserved it. I just
any
didn't get
new Bond movie, I will see in
I was
theaters.
about to say you didn't think it deserved it that much. Drew said Oppenheimer deserved it. He hadn't seen a movie since 2019.
I bet you couldn't guess what that movie was either. I was going to say
movie in theater 2019. So the Joker came out in 2019. We know it wasn't that. 2019 movies.
Hold on. I want to at least look at a list of movie releases so I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was 2018 actually.
Wow, even longer.
2018. I just looked up the movie 2018.
That was the last time you saw a movie in the theaters. 2018.
Yeah.
Now, this is best movies. I don't want best movies. I want box office. Drew didn't just go see, you know. Okay, so Avengers Endgame.
Black Panther?
No.
That was 2018.
You know what? I'm going to guess, because of all this
Scooby-Doo
my
stuff?
guess is Frozen 2.
No,
Damn it. I thought that was it.
Cody is more in the ballpark.
Drew's out of here seeing Crazy Rich Asians or whatever.
No,
what movie was it?
Damn it.
It was The Grinch, the Benedict Cumberbatch Grinch movie. My wife loved, there's nothing more that my wife enjoys, I think, more during Christmas time than the Grinch movie. She loves the Grinch movies. And we went to go see that one, with Benedict Cumberbatch.
And that was the last one.
Yeah, the last movie in movie theaters.
And the experience wasn't that great, apparently.
Let's get back at it.
The movie was good, but in terms of like the cost, somebody said too expensive nowadays.
It's crazy.
Expensive,
I think that's part of why. I'll wait eventually, and I'll see it on Netflix or I'll see it on Disney Plus, particularly, or Amazon, or Peacock.
I just think some movies are, like I want to see on the big screen. That's all. Like any Tom Cruise action movie, I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see in a theater.
I wanted to
it's
see
more
Oppenheimer, but I
enjoyable,
didn't take. I guess you're right. I didn't want to see it enough because I didn't take the time to go and watch.
I get it. I mean, I get it. It's expensive. It did say Drew saw Endgame. Did you see that in theaters?
You never saw Endgame?
No.
Endgame would have been.
I've watched Endgame.
That's a maximum.
I've watched
theater
Endgame
movie.
like 4 or 5 times. I didn't see it in movie theaters. No.
That's crazy.
That was one where I think going back and watching the videos on social media of seeing Robert Downey Jr. with the gauntlet on or whatever it's called and snap his fingers. That was like an all-time moment where on social media people were going nuts, and that would have been cool to be at the theater for. But again, I don't know. If you go to a movie theater, I want to watch the movie. I don't want to react to the movie like other people. I feel like that's a...
I don't clap at the end of the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I also just watch the movie. Not everything is like a stage play. That's just like the end of Endgame.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, everybody's
That's
just
like
going
a
nuts.
moment. That's like a moment in time.
Yeah.
Slightly different. That's my random question of the day.
Interesting.
I'm surprised to find out. I figured just one of you just you feel like
Joker.
you're in the demo for Joker. Like it was in the ballpark. But how many movies you seen this year? You say like 2?
This year, yeah, probably. If that. Yeah. Yeah, I would say we're right around 2. I'm trying to think of the 2 movies, though. Most of them, like, this theaters, it's not, like, when many years, I would go to 3-4 movies a month, but
It was a big thing. It used to be a really big deal to go to the movie theater. Like, you go with your friends, you get the popcorn, the music's playing in the lobby. But now it's, I don't know. It's lost its aura, if you will.
I do agree to a certain extent. It's not the same vibe as it once was.
All right. Just the text line's being funny.
Which one, Cody?
All of them, honestly. Someone said I needed to see Magic Mike in IMAX. Perfect movie for the theater. You're like, yeah, that's fair. That's it. That's all. I just wanted to know
That's the
if anyone
random
was going to get some
question
Joker
of the day. Up next, we get to the 1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. We get right back into the Chiefs. In particular, one player's performance that has us thinking what the ceiling could be in 2024.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
The Chiefs, Cardinals, Royals, Blues, and our 2 soccer teams, the Current and St. Louis City SC, are all endorsing Amendment 2. Here's why you should support it too. Right now, Missouri sports fans are taking their money and placing their bets in Kansas and Illinois. We're losing our money to other states in sports betting. Amendment 2 will generate over $100 million for Missouri schools over the next 5 years. And there's a strong constitutional guarantee ensuring the revenue from sports betting will go to education. Kansas and Illinois know sports betting is a winner for their fans and taxpayers. It's time for Missouri to get into the game. Amendment 2 means over $100 million for Missouri schools. Join the Chiefs, Cardinals, Royals, Blues, Current, and St. Louis City SC in supporting Amendment 2. Paid for by Winning for Missouri Education, Mike Pridmore, Treasurer.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at bluekc.com.
When it comes to financial goals, everyone has that one thing you want to accomplish. Raise your credit score, give your kitchen a well-deserved glow-up, or eliminate credit card debt. At Main Street Credit Union, your main thing, well, that's our thing. It's what we're passionate about, helping you achieve your main thing. So bring us your wants, your needs, and your goals. We'll provide you with the tools to achieve them. Go to mainstreetcu.org for more information.
It's Carrington Harrison from The Drive here now on 96.5 The Fan, telling you guys about my friends over at Window World. Window World is the official window of the Kansas City Chiefs. Pick up the phone right now and call Window World today at 816-799-0820 or check out the website, windowskansascity.com. And remember this, when you call Window World, be sure to mention that you heard this on The Drive with me, and you'll be entered into a drawing for 4 Chiefs tickets during the upcoming season. You know they got some big games, and you're going to want to be there. So call my friends over at Window World. They're offering right now 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. In over 20 years of business, Window World has improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 54,000 homes right here in the Kansas City metro. Check out the website, windowskansascity.com. Pick up the phone today at 816-799-0820 for a free home estimate. Call to be entered into a drawing for 4 Chiefs tickets. Remember, Window World, simply the best for less. And the official window of your Kansas City Chiefs.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy?
Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Fall's coming. You have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve, so this fall make a plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Infinity or Showcase Interior Paint via Lowe's gift card rebate. Whether you're painting one accent wall or want to freshen up a whole room, we've got you covered. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. Valid through 9/4.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Listen to the Chiefs and Chargers game on Sunday with pregame starting at noon. Kickoff at 3:25 with Mitch, Danon, and Kling. Right here on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan. KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City. An Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour on a Victory Monday in Kansas City. Hope everybody's having a good start to their day, middle of your day. I guess for some of you, maybe you're fortunate you're maybe an hour or two away. Got going a little bit earlier today. You guys can hit us up.
Some people work that early morning shift.
Some people working there like 5 to 2 or something like that.
I actually wouldn't mind that shift. I think people are too hard on mornings. I don't mind getting up early if that's what it means to.
You're up
get
early
the
with the kids anyway. I feel like, right?
My kids are early risers. Kind of always have been. I don't think I can work back on that now.
Not a morning person. You know that. I am not a morning person. Not a huge fan.
Is there? I just out of curiosity. Is there like a scientific study behind?
I'm sure
some people are better in mornings or evenings.
Without looking,
or is it just personal choice?
I'm sure it's definitely personal choice for sure. And I'm guessing yes. There's a study for everything, so it would not surprise me if somebody studied why certain people, whether it's age, whether it's a lot of different factors. I'm sure there's something like that out there. But anyway, you guys can interact with us on the Jay Southland Tow Service text line 913-586-7965. We'll get to the audio fun bag as we do every Monday. Some of our favorite sounds from the weekend, whether it's NFL, college, or anything else. That's coming up in just a bit. But let's talk more about Rashee Rice, who set a career high in catches last night. He was simply sensational. Another 100-plus yard game. Of course, had a touchdown as well. He currently 200 of them, by the way. Leads all wide receivers in missed tackles forced, 9. He is off to a sensational start in his sophomore campaign. And we've talked about why do we think, why are the opportunities more prevalent now with Kelsey? And this matchup against Atlanta was always setting up to be good. But he did it in week 1. It's a little bit different if it was just this matchup. He did that in week 1. He's done it every week. Yeah, this has been who he is. Now, Atlanta plays a ton of zone defense. Rashee Rice has been one of the best receivers against zone in football going back to last season. So the formula was there for him to have a massive night, and he did, man. He was really, really great, and he has the second most receiving yards in all of football right now.
Actually, I think, and he has the first most receptions and first in yards after catch. So it's not just, like you gave some of the stats that are impressive, like the 200 yards after contact or the, most broken tackles. All those things certainly help, and they are a part of Rashee Rice's game. But, he's, like you said, second in the NFL in yardage and first in catches. So he's right at the top of pretty much every receiving category in the league. And honestly, at the end of the year, I think we'll call Rashee Rice what he is, which is something we're afraid to admit usually early in the seasons. I think he's a top 10 NFL wide receiver. I can name a handful of people I'd be like, yeah, okay, due to current or most recent examples of seasons, they probably have the edge over him, like Tyreek Hill and a few others. But then when you start getting into the nitty gritty and we got to start making arguments between, hey, is Rashee Rice better than, like Diggs for a long time or DK Metcalf or some of the other names that you would have mentioned in the top 10 in any given year over the previous years. I think by the end of the year, everyone will universally agree that Rashee Rice is a top 10 receiver in the NFL. And that is a crowded group.
It is.
Really crowded group.
Just trying to think off the top of my head. We know there's the guys that are obviously going to be there. But last year, if you just view it off of not receiving yards, but the very, I would say, opinionated PFF grading system, because everybody thinks it's like some scientific thing. It's really not. It's still an individual watching a game. They just have a grading system, but it's still one person. Based on their system, last year, Rashee Rice was the 14th best. So not like...
He's third best right now, by the way, in Pro Football Focus's receiver rankings.
So based off of that, saying 14 to 10, no, that's not crazy. Now we're also seeing just the flat-out production that we can all see without having an expert eye or anything like that. We could all watch and see what he's doing. What's great for the Chiefs on a bigger picture is that later on in the year, does this allow Travis to finally have the breakout performance? Does this help Worthy? Does this help Carson Steele? I think the answer is yes, because at some point another team is going to say, all right, we're not going to make it this easy. Now, he might be at that level now, Cody, to your point where it doesn't matter. You can try what you want. He's still going to get his.
Yeah. People try to cover Justin Jefferson, and they still don't.
But right now, I will say, whether it's the design wide receiver screen and the flat, they ran it 5 times yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's just wide open most of the time when he's catching the ball, and then he's breaking tackles to add to the yards after the catch. But it's not like he's going up and having to make a ton of contested catches. He's usually wide open. He's finding ways to find separation, to find the open space in the zone like he did yesterday. As far as the top 10, where can he be? At the end of the season, I mean, we know there's some guys that you're not going to surpass, probably, right? Like Tyreek Hill. Also, was added. Nico Collins is having a very good season.
He's the leader of yardage in the NFL.
Hill, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jefferson, Lamb, A.J. Brown are guys I would put above him. But
Devontae Adams still, Amon-Ra. I mean, this is where you start. And then there's the young guys, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr., who's in the top 10 of most categories right now. But again, I know at 10, you're essentially just muddying the waters. You're throwing out a whole bunch of really good wide receivers. But, I mean, look at his track record is rock solid. He came in as a rookie wide receiver, a guy who didn't play the first 8 weeks because he did, but he didn't start playing starter snaps until after 8 weeks. Finished with almost 1,000 yards as a rookie in Andy Reid's system, and then in year 2 is pacing for double that in his second year in the league. I mean, there's no part of what he has been doing that doesn't suggest he's getting ready to take that leap. The only guy who's been better than him this year is Nico Collins. He has essentially been Justin Jefferson in this early going. And there's other guys too. Malik Neighbors is having a great year.
Yes.
And some of these other young guys that are stepping up. But he's in that category. And I think what I like about it is what you're saying is, at some point this season, what's going to happen is a team is going to, and I think, make a mistake. I think they're going to walk into a game and they're going to we're not letting that guy beat us. They got no Isaiah Pacheco. They got no Hollywood Brown. We're putting our best hat on Rashee damn Rice. And we're not letting him come out and beat us. And that's when Travis Kelce's going to beat them to death. They're going to make a mistake. And they're going to take, for 1 second, one NFL team's finally going to convince themselves that, fine, we'll let Travis Kelce beat us if he's capable anymore. And then he's going to sneak in there because Rashee Rice has opened us all up. I'm a little depressed because I see how well it's working. Travis Kelce doesn't matter. Rashee Rice has been so good. Damn, Hollywood would have been a perfect compliment.
Yep.
Not to be a bummer, but Hollywood would have been a perfect compliment. I see how they were trying to build the offense, and honest to God, it was perfect. It just,
and that's one
because
thing
of the injury, you can't do it that way.
It is one thing we have to keep in mind if you're like, hey, the offense is kind of sluggish out of the gate here, specifically the last 2 weeks, and why are they still having these issues? Just remember, all offseason they were planning on having an offense that did feature Hollywood Brown. Oh, now their offense doesn't have Isaiah Pacheco. So they're having to make some adjustments, like a lot of teams are, and so it's a work in progress. And yet, their work in progress, they're still 3-0. That's the beautiful thing. It's a work in progress, but and later on in the season, of course, they will have to be better, but the track record says they're going to. They're going to get this thing figured out, and their defense is already playing at a high level.
Yes.
That's what's really, really great about where they're at. I'll be curious to see, can Rashee Rice basically keep up this kind of workload all year? We just haven't seen it. I'm not saying he can't, but we haven't seen it yet in the NFL. They haven't asked him to do that. Can he, across an 18-game schedule, or 18-game schedule, can he put together that kind of, or 17 game schedule, 18 week? Can he handle that kind of workload all
I don't
year?
know. I mean, my gut says, yeah. Look, I like most things, I would be always a little bit more concerned if, I don't know, it was like he was Sky Moore size. I mean, Rasheed
Xavier
Rice.
Worthy. Yeah. I hear you.
Rasheed, like if there's
He's
a
bigger receiver.
he's
Yeah.
built like Anquan. I mean, if you're built like that, you probably be okay. You probably can handle a few snaps. Like I understand that, like he landed on the ball for a second, and for a moment we're all like,
Yeah, I think he just got the wind knocked out of him.
oh please, yeah, and I agree with you there. But so yeah, I'm not overly concerned about that right now. What is though is they still have a lot of room to grow in the offense. They just do. Like, but the problem is that we'll still never get the full complement until we get Pacheco back. Like Hollywood, that might be a whole season long thing. I'm not counting on that being a portion of this year's offense. But I do want to see the Pacheco and Kelsey kind of back on the same page with Rasheed Rice, because all the other secondary guys, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Just be available when you need you, Justin Watson. Sky Moore was in on a lot of blocking plays and a lot of third down plays yesterday. They obviously trust him to handle some of those. Same with Juju Smith-Schuster. Cool. Do all the gritty work because we're throwing it to Rasheed Rice. And eventually we're throwing it to Kelsey. We're not throwing it to all you, but you're going to have to do your job anyway. Sorry.
That was kind of the perfect Juju Smith-Schuster game for where he's at in his career and what they're going to ask him for. Hey, we're going to ask you to block a lot. You're one of the best blocking receivers in football. Wide receiver screens, we think this is an effective option for us throughout the game. We're going to get Rasheed Rice the ball in space. We just mentioned the yards after the catch.
Yeah, number one in the NFL.
He did that. And then, we'll have one. We think we have one play scripted up for you. We're gonna kind of run a little pick play and get you wide open, and we're not gonna ask you to do much after the catch. And he ran like 6 yards after the catch, if that, something like that, and he gets a touchdown. Like that should be like that. That should be what you are hoping for out of Juju at sporadic times throughout the season. He's not gonna get a touchdown a week, but that's right there another sign of the Brett Veach signing, bringing him back in. How great of a move that was.
Yeah, just needed another. Well, and it ended up being perfect timing because at the time, they did not know at the time that Hollywood Brown was going to miss the amount of time he is. He just was a good depth signing who protected you a little bit. And I would say that went well, obviously, overall.
All right, let's get to it. Every Monday, the audio fun bag from the weekend. Let's start in the NFL, shall we?
Sure.
The Las Vegas Raiders, they go down to Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers, and they didn't just lose. Yeah, they got beat up. The Panthers were the better team throughout the entire game. And then you have Antonio Pierce after the game.
I think as the game went on, I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions. And we'll make business decisions going forward as well.
Okay. He's a no-nonsense coach. We knew that. I will say, though, 3 weeks into the season to already being like, all right.
Business decisions.
You know?
Against the Panthers?
You know?
They got worked.
No, I take that as, all right, is that meaning some guys are going to get, a lot of people took that as, so you're trading Devontae Adams in a couple weeks. That's Jets fans' dream. Understandably so. I just took that as there's going to be some players that are not going to be starting whoever they're playing Sunday. Whoever the Raiders
Jones,
have.
the corner, who clearly just kind of like bailed out of any kind of run tackling. Yeah, that's probably the answer. Let's stay in the NFL.
Okay.
There was a alarm that went off in the Packers post game. This is, of course, where Matt LaFleur talked a little bit about it, saying that they were always prepared.
Happy for our guys and proud of their effort. Whatever, keep going, keep firing away. They told me this city was going to burn if we came in here and won the game, so I guess it is.
God, that's a pretty good dig, isn't it? For off the cuff, you got to admit that's pretty solid.
There's two of the Coach of the Year candidates reside in the NFC North. Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, and what Matt LaFleur's doing with
Malik
Willis. I mean, a very specific game plan. He was referencing Nashville, by the way. The Titans lost to the Packers yesterday, and they've been really impressive. And this time, it wasn't like Josh Jacobs ran for 200 yards again. This one was their defense. Malik Willis, 202 yards and a touchdown.
Made a couple of nice throws.
202 yards and a touchdown, and he had 73 on the ground. They're doing what they have to do with that quarterback. I think Jordan Love is expected back this next week, but they're 2-1. They avoided worst-case scenario injury-wise with Jordan Love, and they've also found a way to win some games. And Tennessee Titans are 0-3. Maybe we underestimate. We've talked so much about the Panthers or the Patriots, number 1, number 2 pick. The Titans might have a top 3 pick. Shadir Sanders might be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans next year.
Whoever's going to be number 1 overall, and I don't think it should be Shadir, but if he wants
to go there.
Yeah, he wants warm weather, right? That's warm enough weather.
Well, no. I think Dion wants him. Remember, it's Dion making the decisions. It's not Shedeur saying, "Hey, Dad, I want to play."
Big
here,"
win for them against Baylor. Who do they beat?
They did.
Yeah, Baylor.
Final
was a really good win.
seconds. Yeah, final seconds. That was big. They got 3 wins. They got 3. They get UCF this weekend. Talk about 50 to 50. It's going to be like a 55-50 game.
So I found a piece of audio for the audio fun bag that I thought was about perfect because, we haven't yet done, even though I think we will at some point this season, a little What's Your Fantasy, where we give you some fantasy advice on a Wednesday. But somebody really broke down the NFL season. And I'll be honest, it is way more sexual than you thought.
Starts to come, and then he pulls out. You have to like when there's a guy coming right in your face and he just sits in there and delivers it. We got guys coming down his face.
Feeling is the Cowboys probably coming right down their throats.
Now, Tyrell Williams. He beats. Needed 2 thrusts to get it in. Bynes has been coming all night long, but then he pulls out, and it's just hard. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big. He almost didn't know what to do. Got 5 inches on him, but somebody's going to get that gobbler at the end of this game, too.
This was put together by a TikTok user.
Aikman was featured heavily throughout.
This was put together by a TikTok user. Just talking about what the hell am I watching when I'm watching the NFL?
And that's just the first couple
Those are
weeks.
real calls from this year's NFL season.
Wow. And Troy
I'm just letting you know.
Aikman.
I was gonna say, he
what?
got the
4 of
last
those
half of
were
it.
from Aikman.
Jeez.
Look, I guess I don't hear it in the moment. I'll say that because
Well, you're not
it just
thinking.
sounds like
yeah,
normal
you're just-
football when you're.
If you watch football, you're used to hearing them talk about going through the hole or finding the hole.
Slightly different energy. You know what we should finish with for the audio fun bag? How about the guy who talked to you earlier? Talked to us on the show earlier. Caller John.
Caller John, 913-586-7965. We had a listener wanted to talk about the officiating. And he wasn't happy about it, and he said the Chiefs get all the calls. And we'll get to the rest of his call here.
Yes, the Chiefs always get the advantage. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Okay.
You guys win a 3-peat, you're not winning the 4. Rice is getting suspended probably the whole year next year.
Okay.
Kelsey's cooked. He really is. He's too much in love with Taylor. She needs to go away. I'm just sick of the Chiefs getting every call. It's just ridiculous.
Who's the team
that
you
was
root for?
clearly
I'm
pass
curious now.
interference.
I'll let you finish. Sorry, John. Who's the team you root for?
The team I root for the Bills.
Okay.
Bills,
Makes more sense. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's going to be a test when, they go to Buffalo. I think Buffalo's actually going to beat them because the refs are not going to be on too favor. I mean, that's just what I think,
Okay.
But I wish you guys luck. I think you guys are probably going to get the 3-peat, but I don't think you're getting the 4.
Again, I just don't think that's an insult.
Only a Bills
John,
fan.
I
That's
like
a
John. He
proper
sounds like a
Bills
nice
insult.
dude,
Shout out to John.
John sounds like a nice guy. It's just not much of an insult.
No other fan in the NFL is saying that you're going to win the 3, and then you might not win 4. I don't think they're giving you the 3 either. Chiefs get all the calls, huh? That was the conversation on social media last night.
Of course it was.
It's just the confidence of like, look, you guys are going to 3-peat, do something that's never been done in NFL history, put yourself in elite company, but damn it, you're not getting that 4th.
Come on, John. Say that the Chiefs would lose to the Bills, and say something. Say the Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl because they're going to beat the Chiefs. Say something.
So ridiculous.
Throw a major swipe.
You know what? He did, but he's real. You know what? I think sometimes when one team dominates a lot, Gold, you just become a realist. You're like, I'll let you get that 3-peat, okay? But 4, that's...
Against the Bills in particular.
That's where I draw the line. It's like when you're really not being all that firm with your kid. You'd be like, I said 5 more minutes on that iPad. They're like, I just started your game. You're like, oh, no, fine, just hang it for another 5 minutes. It depends on your mood, right? Depends on whether or not you're standing on business. You will take that trade, though? You'll take a 3-peat this year?
Yes, I'll guarantee the Chiefs doing something that's never happened in NFL history if it means that in 2025 they can't win the Super Bowl. Yes, by the way, deep down, I think there's people in the organization that would take that as well if you got to the honest answer from them.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The audio fun bag here on a Monday.
Thanks, Troy Aikman. Whoops.
Heavily
Someone
featured in
says
that.
you are fired.
Fired? I mean, anybody could have played that. There's cameras on us, but prove that it was me. Could have been Drew. Could have been Gold.
It could have been.
Could have been Carrington. Actually, I think it was Carrington. I think he came in here and pressed spacebar. Technically, the person at fault.
Okay.
It was me. I don't really care. I don't think I'd get in that much trouble for it. We were talking, someone asked earlier, said, hey, can you give us an update on the division and where things stand in the AFC West? I was like, well, I don't know why you need an update. I'll break it down for you real quick. The Broncos stink, even though they got a win. They still stink. The Raiders stink worse. I don't know, the same. They're also terrible. They have no chance to win the division. The Chargers gave their fans some life a little bit there for 2 weeks, and then because they played bad opponents, and then they no-showed against the Steelers before Herbert got re-injured. I could not believe they even risked it with Justin Herbert. I thought it was a bad idea before the game, only proven to be worse. If you were up against the number one pass rush in the NFL and your guy's got a high ankle sprain, and you know that they're capped out at 20 points, why on earth are you starting Justin Herbert the week before a divisional game against the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has beat you every year, every time, for years? Why would you do that to yourselves? Is that not seeing the big picture? Is this just like old Harbaugh, hard-nosed football guy? Like, what's the point?
I don't think it was they're just trying to prove that they're tough football guy. I think it was Justin Herbert was clear by the doctors. He felt like it was more of a pain tolerance thing and was able to play through it. Ultimately, it got to a point where he felt he couldn't play through it anymore, and so they pulled him from the game. I don't know if it is so much that like he necessarily made things 100 times worse. I think he thought he could play through it and did for a half, and then the pain tolerance became an issue for him because it probably did get aggravated.
Looked like
playing
it
the
got rolled
NFL.
up on.
Yeah, and so now was there a setback? We're going to find out throughout this week, or now maybe they realize that it's worth resting him a little bit longer. But that's 2 injuries already for Herbert: ankle sprain, the plantar fasciitis that he was dealing with preseason that kept him out of all preseason, I guess I should say.
Yeah,
for a team that the divisional game is more important. I hear you, but maybe they viewed it as, hey, they know they got the Chiefs coming up, and it's like, hey, we think we can beat, we think we can get the Steelers here. And
So
then,
let's get to 3-0, but 3-0 doesn't
I
mean
don't
anything. It's
know.
one game.
Well, they're 2-1. They're about to be 2-2. So,
like, if you lose that game, let's just say you're not even taking a loss. The Steelers have limited offensive ability, so if you can get to 20 points with Taylor Heineke, you would have had a chance. You couldn't. But, like, let's just say you take that loss. Well, then if you save Justin Herbert for the game, well, then you give your chance to be 3-1 all the same. And then you got another divisional game against the Broncos. So now, on the road against the Broncos, at home against the Chiefs, you've now risked. Why are you doing that? For one game against the Pittsburgh Steelers? And Harbaugh definitely seems like the kind of guy who's like, I'm going to win it. It's in college. You don't have to win week 3. Doesn't impact your ability to get in the college football playoff. None of that matters. It's one game versus Justin Herbert's health for the entire season. He had suffered an injury before the season. He has regularly missed time due to injury. Why would you risk a high ankle sprain in week 3 with the Chiefs coming to town? Look, it's great news. If you're a Chiefs fan, I guess you shouldn't really care because I feel like it's at best a 50-50 shot that Justin Herbert's available for this game on Sunday at this point because he was a game-time decision for the last one and he just got re-injured. Like, what are the odds I think he's going to get his ankle ready for that one? And same rule applies that if they somehow get him ready, all it takes is one guy kind of falling into his leg again and then where are you? Hurt.
I was going to say he's going to be a statue if he plays.
And Slater also, like Bosa and Slater also left that game.
Yeah, that's the other part.
Joe Alt's been very good, but Slater was out.
They've got multiple players. It's the same old story, though. I mean, how many times we've been early in the year, guys, whether the Chiefs were getting ready to play them or not, and we're sitting here and we're looking at that injury report for the Chargers, and it's a long laundry list of players that are either questionable, already ruled out, did not practice all week, and sometimes it's the same players. Bosa's back on there, as you said. Like it doesn't matter who the coach is, man. This is another regime, another coach, and they're dealing with the same kind of stuff.
Yes. Doesn't really. What is with the medical staff? Is it just cursed? LA sun too bright? Like, what the hell's going on? Someone said Herbert's going to get a pain shot in his foot. It'll puncture his lung somehow, and then his season will be over.
Jeez.
If you don't remember the Tyrod Taylor story from a few years
that
ago.
was crazy.
Before Justin Herbert started. And yeah, someone's right. Bosa is always hurt. He's an injury-prone player. But Slater's been really healthy. And now they're without him. It's like you risk too much. You risk too much. Because if you lose the next 2 games against the Chiefs and the Broncos in the division, well, then you've kissed the AFC West goodbye, all because you were trying to get one win against the Steelers. I told you earlier, I think it's coaching malpractice.
Coming up next, we'll get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Plus, one thing that wasn't very good a year ago for this defense, but has given us a lot of hope already just 3 weeks into the season.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
So if you're like me, the last week or so has been awful with allergies in the Kansas City area. I think a lot of us have been dealing with that. And if you wear a contact lens wearer, that's a problem, right? Because your eyes are itchy, your eyes are watery. These are things that I used to have to deal with. But because I don't wear contacts anymore, at least I'm not dealing with that portion of the headache that comes with the fall allergies. And it's all because of DuraVision. I don't wear contacts. I don't wear glasses anymore because I went to the best in Kansas City. If you're fed up with your contacts or glasses, if you just want to maybe see better and find out what they can do for you, now is a great time to call up DuraVision for a free consultation. 913-491-3330. They are the best in Kansas City, and they're the most trusted because they've performed over 65,000 vision correction procedures. And right now, you can save up to $1,000 on LASIK through the end of the month. So you got about a week left to take advantage of that friends and family discount that's normally reserved solely for friends and family, but it's open up to everyone right now. Again, just go to DuraVision.com or give them a call, 913-491-3330, and tell them Gold from 96.5 The Fan sent you.
Hey, Kansas sports fans, feel the rush of football action with BetMGM. We're giving you an odds boost for any pro football wager this season. Just log into your BetMGM account today to receive an odds boost token. Then wager on any pro football matchup and apply your token. Just make sure to bet up to the minimum stake, odds, and legs specified on the token. If your boosted wager hits, you'll score a bigger payout. No opt-in is required. Just log into your BetMGM sports account and you'll automatically receive your odds boost token. Get ready to run up the score on your next winning pro football wager. Draw up your play for bigger thrills with BetMGM. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards has unrestricted funds. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
We've had more than our fair share of hail and wind this year. Are you playing Roofer Roulette? That's when you bet your roof and your home on the first random roofer to ring your doorbell. Why do that when JR & Company offers a free hail and wind report online at jrstormcheck.com? Just plug in your address and we'll pull a multi-year storm report. You'll know exactly what your roof has been put through and if you even need an inspection. If you do, no one is more thorough and works better with your insurance than locally owned, veteran-owned JR & Company. And if you need a new roof, remember, a roof from JR comes with a lifetime warranty on workmanship. Don't play Roofer Roulette with your home. Visit jrstormcheck.com and remember,
You're always better with a roof from JR.
Visit jrstormcheck.com.
Did you know that you can now use your own body's healing properties to revitalize your achy joints and get you real lasting pain relief? Hey, it's Bob Fesco. And if you're waking up this morning and your knees hurt or your back hurts, I've got the solution for you. It's advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. So if you're tired of that arthritic pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulder, this is something you need to check out. Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are experts in these amazing treatments. People here are raving about the results. You can enhance your joints, improve mobility, and get back to doing the stuff you love without pain, without drugs or surgery or downtime. They've got tens of thousands of satisfied patients, and the consultation is totally free. So call now, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299.
Fall's coming. You have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve, so this fall make a plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Infinity or Showcase Interior Paint via Lowe's gift card rebate. Whether you're painting one accent wall or want to freshen up a whole room, we've got you covered. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. Valid through 9/4.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're in hot water, mister.
What'd I do?
I told you months ago our utility bills were getting higher because of that old outdated tank water heater.
Maybe it's time we finally switch to a Navien tankless.
Learn about Navient's high-efficiency tankless water heaters, endless hot water, all while helping you save on your energy costs.
Hey, look at this. Our utility bill is lower since we got the Navien tankless water heater.
Who's in hot water now?
We are, all the time.
Learn more at tanklessmadesimple.com. What if I told you that there was a single management software that could handle your CRM, accounting, manufacturing, marketing, inventory, sales, and everything in between for a fraction of the cost of the dozens of disconnected platforms most companies rely on to manage their business? Sounds pretty good, right? Well, that's Odoo. Odoo is the end-all be-all for any business of any size, and it's ready to help your company reach the next level and beyond. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me grow from 1 Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
With the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
96.5 The Fan and Kansas Lottery are partnering to give you a chance to win big with Kansas Lottery's Chiefs World Champion Instant Ticket. Go to 965thefan.com for your chance to register to win a $30 prize pack and the $100 grand prize pack. It's all brought to you by 96.5 The Fan and Kansas Lottery. What's trending?
Number one on What's Trending. We heard from Andy Reid a little bit earlier on today, right here on 96.5 The Fan. Luckily, injury-wise, nothing new. There was no injuries coming out of last night's win. Andy did say, though, the plan moving forward will be to continue to have Wanya Morris as the team's starting left tackle, and nobody should be surprised by that based off of his performance. Give him credit. I'm not saying he put together an all-pro performance, but he was fine. He held his own for the most part, and you weren't noticing him. That's always a good thing as a left tackle. So that's where things sit. And later on in the week, it'll be interesting to hear from Andy again about Kareem Hunt and if they envision him being available for the Chargers game. We kind of saw the running back split, though, on Sunday night. First half, it was Pirine and Steele, almost 50-50. Then Andy went with the hot hand in the second half. So could Kareem Hunt work himself into the picture by the end of this week? We'll see.
Yeah, better idea of that. But, we talked about what we knew ahead of time, which was Carson Steele could essentially make sure he's the main starter of that job. And, he had 17 carries for 72 yards, held up okay in pass protection. Hard to make the argument that he lost the job based on yesterday's performance, That's for sure. Next up on What's Trending, the Royals' losing streak reaches 7 after a 2-0 loss to the Giants yesterday. They're off today, thank goodness. They start a series against the Nationals tomorrow. As you reminded earlier, their number one young player on the team is sent back down to AAA after he was caught at 8 a.m. at a casino the day before.
On a heater.
The morning of a day game on an absolute heater. But it's reached 7. They're currently in a playoff spot. They have a 1-game lead on the Minnesota Twins. They're actually tied for the second wild card spot still with the tiebreaker in their favor over the Detroit Tigers. But it's buckle up time, I guess, to say the very least. We'll talk more about that series tomorrow. But yeah, the Royals losing streak reaches 7, but still currently in a playoff spot.
Next up on What's Trending, we know just news around the NFL, finding out some injury news with a couple teams, including the Cleveland Browns, who just lost to the New York Giants yesterday. Bad news for them. Myles Garrett dealing with some pain from his feet now to his lower legs. He's undergoing MRI today. His snap count has already decreased due to a foot injury, but now maybe it's expanded from there. Things are not great, to say the least, in Cleveland. They should have won that game against the Giants, and Deshaun Watson, that offense got nothing going. Amari Cooper got kind of knocked out late in that game, too. Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski, good luck.
I know the money, man. Just start Jameis and get it over with. Next up on What's Trending, the Big 12 announces that CBS will air more of their college basketball games through 2026 and the 2027 season after getting a sub-licensing agreement over with ESPN. This is actually really good news for the Big 12, who's tried to pivot themselves to we're the number one basketball conference in the country. We're about basketball amidst all the realignment stuff. Getting more of your games on CBS instead of ESPN Plus objectively a good thing for the Big 12.
The one thing I was trying to read this too. Do we know if this is like CBS Sports Network or like actual CBS?
They made it sound like actual CBS.
Because CBS Sports Network,
little of both.
I think it's CBS because they do games
that's
like
huge,
they do games with the Big Ten and the SEC a lot.
More about actual CBS, the sub-licensing to the actual network.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's awesome.
Like Nance, Clark Kellogg, Bill Raftery.
That's big time if that's really what that is, and it's not just throwing them on CBS.
Because you remember,
Network.
CBS ran and still does a lot of Big Ten basketball games. They want the better basketball product. If they're going to run it live on a Saturday afternoon, the better, consistent basketball product in college basketball is the Big 12.
That is what's trending here on Cody and Gold. One thing, go back, you mentioned during what's trending, the Royals, someone said the best thing for them is to finish the season on the road. They're obviously pressing at home. As we said, there are no bad ideas anymore. They have lost 7 in a row.
They should call Drew Waters.
Everything's on the table. It really doesn't matter at this point. You know anything. It doesn't have to make sense. Like, the lineup, like, well, this guy should be leading off. I'm open to any idea. Hell, normally you wouldn't do it, but if you want to say lead off Bobby Wood Jr. just to mix it up, I'm all here for that too. I don't care. That would not be normally something you do in today's day and age of baseball.
6 games left
But
before
sure,
a playoff
all of a sudden,
push.
you want to lead off Bobby Wood Jr. just because? Sure. Everything should be on the table when you are looking like you're on the verge of the worst collapse for a playoff run in a while. In your franchise history, yes, but in baseball, it's been a bit since we've had a team with the lead the Royals had that would collapse with this short amount of games to go.
I mean, it's borderline like Tin Cup stuff. Like, put all the T's in your left pocket, put your hat backwards. Like, the offense has the yips. Do anything. I don't care if, like, for the first at bat tomorrow, Tommy Pham's going to hit from the other side of the plate. You're like, but he's not a switch hitter. Or, in his case.
No, I get you.
Like, Bobby Wood Jr. is going to hit from the left side. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. For one at bat, he's going to do it, damn it, because something has to change. The game has to be fun again for you for a minute. Because right now, as I've told you, I think if they get the win tomorrow, they are going to the playoffs. And I think it might be as simple as if they get the win tomorrow, they are. And if they don't, they aren't. And it's just like that feeling of confidence and putting that all behind you or anything else can completely move the needle. Someone earlier today suggested calling up Zach Greinke to hit. I mean, he wouldn't even be eligible for the postseason roster. But sure, if I wouldn't really think it was funny if for one at bat tomorrow, Zach Greinke hit 9th.
Yeah.
I know they can't do that. It's a serious team with real playoff hopes. But they got to find a way to just shake it.
We were
That's
talking about
point.
C.J. Abrams from the Nationals who got sent down because he was at a casino till 8 a.m. or whatever. But honestly, normally you would not want anything. Take him out to the club, man. Whatever.
Take him out. Saying they can go out.
Take him out. Take him out to the club. Whatever you need to do. Eric Hosmer tweeted last night. He said, "Get the boys to DC. Get the boys to a show dinner. Get the boys some seafood towers and steak. Get the boys to a big screen to watch 15 and 87. Be great tonight." This was last night. If all this happens, we win. Most importantly, the steak. Winners eat steak.
Okay.
That's from Eric Hosmer.
I do think that there's some you got to find a way to get it off of your mind for a minute. It's way easier said than done.
Thank goodness the Twins stink. The Twins are the reason why we're not talking about them already being out of the playoff picture.
Correct. Because the Twins have played just as bad.
Yeah.
Someone said, how's this not worse than the Twins collapse? No, they're equally bad. The Royals one's not worse. They're both just awful. The Royals one looks weirder because they have 2 7-game losing streak versus the Twins who just keep losing 7 out of every 10 games. They're not doing it consecutively. They're just losing the same amount.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
They actually had a bigger lead than the Royals. They were several games up on the Royals, who are now ahead of them. Technically, the Twins' collapse in September is worse. But that's the whole point. It's that I just get a win tomorrow so we can all just feel good on Wednesday, please. I'm begging.
One thing on a more positive end, let's talk about the Chiefs. And last year, they were one of the worst teams, bottom 10, against the run. It was a struggle. That was the one Achilles heel of this defense that was so great last year. You could run on them. That was the thing you kind of were like, all right, I'm going to have to live with that. 3 weeks in, small sample size, but it is what it is. Derrick Henry, 3.5 yards per carry. Zach Moss, 2.8. Last night, Robinson, 1.9 yards per carry. This defense this season is trending way better than they were a year ago against the run, to the point where this could end up being a strength. Let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But right now, how do you make your secondary look better without having L'Jarius Sneed? How do you mask maybe some other areas that aren't quite as strong? Well, you're going to play 2 high safeties more than anybody in football anyway, which is what they're doing.
That's what everyone's doing.
And nobody's really getting the deep passes down the field. So your run defense should be a little bit better. And that's what we've seen. It helps when you have Nick Bolton, of course, coming up, and he's as good of a run thumper as anybody. We saw the game-sealing tackle in the backfield to win it for Kansas City. But this is a really good development right now, guys. One thing to talk about the defense and what they can be as a whole and what they're going to do without L'Jarius Sneed. But against the run, they are much better already than a year ago.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I think it's pretty, I don't know if it's safe to say, but doesn't it seem fairly obvious right now that that's going to be the hallmark of this defense? That they found we talked a lot of time about, what are they going to do against, what are they going to do with no L'Jarius Sneed? How are they going to cover these additional guys, et cetera, et cetera? And now, instead of doing that, they have found some way goal to be really good against the run instead. And once you've got one part of the job down, well, then everything's just a little bit easier in the sense that you can operate inside of your normal system. We know what we're good at. We'll be good at that no matter what we do. And then we'll operate outside of that. You know what's funny about this is the entire theme of the NFL this year. What's happened here, and I told you, which I think is going to shift here in about 4 weeks, so we'll see the Chiefs. They're going to have to make an adjustment. The NFL is daring teams to run because technically the value you're getting out of the run isn't good enough to justify it. So right now, you think it looks like running's easier. It's not effective enough that it actually justifies teams continuing to do it that way instead of simply just running. So instead of just passing. Yeah. So if they don't make the shift soon, Chiefs might have to readjust. But I don't care. Spags will do that. Yesterday, they gave up 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then what did they give up goal the rest of the way? A field goal? Singular? 1? What do they do in the second half in the last 2? I mean, every time. They're outscoring their opponents because their defense is better in the second half than everyone else.
Spags. I mean, every week I feel like we're like, hey, remember, this is what he does. This is what he does every single season. One, we know the defense as a whole gets better, but in games, yes, the Falcons, like I'm sure will happen with the Chargers if Herbert's playing. First drive, they might get you. They had all week to game plan as well. They're smart people as well. They find a mismatch they like, a way to confuse you, which is what the Falcons did. Miscommunication caused you to have that. But then you settle in. Then you make adjustments. And the Falcons, that wide receiver screen they were running to Mooney did not work in the second half the way it worked in the first half. And that miscommunication only happened one time.
A lot of tackles in the backfield on that Mooney
tackling
pass.
was pretty good. Tackling was pretty good yesterday for Kansas City as well. And so
only the one that I thought was going to cost him was the Connor missed tackle in the middle of the field right before the fourth down stop.
Yeah.
Right
Drake London or whatever.
Drake London's
he was right off.
tackle.
Yes. Yeah. And thank goodness he's a yard short there. Then we all know the rest is history. They're come up short the next play and then the fourth down stop as well. That's the other thing with the Falcons. I think we both agree that as the season gets going further, they're probably going to get more of 100% Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins used to do QB sneaks, but they won't do it. It makes more sense why they won't do it with their quarterback right now, Cody. He's coming off the Achilles. But that same thing. Why not bring in Michael Penix if you're the Falcons for that one play? QB sneak it.
But we talked about this
if
with
they do
Carson
QB
Wentz
sneak,
and a million others.
If Kirk Cousins is not coming off an Achilles injury, they go QB sneak and they probably get it. Let's just be honest.
Because teams are too stubborn. This goes back to a theory I've mentioned on the show a million times, groupthink. No team in the NFL brings in some dude just to QB sneak it, and they're foolish. Because the first team to figure it out, the team who doesn't want to use their
Browns did yesterday. It didn't work.
The team who doesn't.
Jameis Winston came in and they stuffed him. But anyway, go ahead.
Damn it, really?
Yeah. Yesterday, Deshaun Watson got pulled on it was like a 4th and 1 or whatever, and they tried the QB sneak with Jameis. It didn't work. But anyway, go ahead.
But you get I still think it'll work more times than it won't. But it's still like the Chiefs, right? They had the inches play that they went for and got, barely, with Carson Steele. But they got it. So, you didn't make the wrong call. QB sneak maybe barely gets it 2. But if you really don't want to sneak, they are 2 of 6 inside the 2-yard line by the goal line. 2 of 6. That's how many times. So 4 times inside the 2-yard line, they are not putting the ball in the end zone. Are you sure that Carson Wentz wouldn't have gotten at least 3 if you just ran him under center and ran a QB sneak? Are you sure you wouldn't get at least 3? I'm confident you'd get at least 3. I think you probably get 4 or 5. And that's the problem I have with it, is that you're so dead set out of taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. You can't possibly conceive the fact that this would be the case. But the high percentage play is a high percentage play. I don't care who's running it. They were more willing to do it seemingly with guys like Blake Bell than with the quarterback. Like somehow it sends a message. Nobody thinks Mahomes can't do it. We just think you're too afraid to let him.
Correct.
Nobody thinks Mahomes isn't capable.
As I said, but yet not that this is why it didn't work either, but yet they'll have Mahomes go in motion at wide receiver. We know you're not throwing the ball to Patrick Mahomes. You won't even let him do a QB sneak.
Yeah. And then he almost got hurt kneeling down.
That was weird.
That scared me for a second.
Yeah,
Anybody else get like a little nervous for a second?
This crappy indoor turf stuff. I mean, that's he said in postgame his foot kind of got caught on the turf. But for a half second, I was like, uh-oh. And then Collinsworth is like, oh, he's shaking out his knee. I'm like, oh, God.
He was making me terrified.
No, he's fine, obviously. But, yeah, I think his foot got caught on the turf. The turf, it's the issue with McDuffie, the second play from scrimmage, he slipped. He was Mooney had him beat anyway, but still, he slipped. It looked like he slipped on the turf. I just think that's always an adjustment for them. But, yeah, Mahomes, I will say, though, yes, it was scary for a half second, but he could not have timed out the kneel down better. I mean, even a little thing like that is just, like, impressive. It sounds so simple, like just take a knee.
Like, how long do you count?
They would have had to punt it or done something else. Instead,
punts can still get blocked. Now, in this case, you would just, on fourth down, you would just
run around, probably.
Yeah, for 2 seconds.
But the fact that they timed it out perfect, they didn't have to take another knee.
Did you see? This is not, because I'll say, just like blaming the refs. If you like, I like to sports wager. Gold likes to sport. We all do it. Drew had some touchdown bets, right? We all bet on the show, so it's not that. But when you start blaming like weak losses on things, so I saw the people who were mad about Devin Singletary because that was the under.
Oh, he
Devin Singletary slid down the one. Happens all the time. That's part of
the
game. He's just running up the clock. Patrick Mahomes kneel downs. His -8 yards on the final 3 plays hit his rushing under.
You have to factor that stuff in.
Hit his rushing under.
So it is.
Don't blame it.
Yeah,
it sucks. It's the part of betting, but damn it, that's hurt. Because somebody bet the under and hooray.
I know. Yeah, like so that one's not like it's a bad beat, sure. But we've all seen like this has happened plenty of times now.
Kneel downs are a part of it.
Well, no, since like betting has been legal, a quarterback losing his rushing over has each season there's probably 6+ instances where a quarterback takes a knee and you lose the over.
This was particularly bad because it was
you have to factor that in. Like you have to in the Super Bowl, it was something when we discussed prop bets for Mahomes too. Like, hey, if you think they're going to win, there's a chance they're going to take a knee at the end of the game or whatever. Of course, this game, it didn't happen. They got a walk-off touchdown overtime against the Niners. Sure. But typically, like you that's part of the bet. You have to factor that in, man. That's the risk of taking
it was just even more yardage because of the way he didn't normally kneel.
Yes.
Like, if he just gets 3 normal kneels, you actually still win your over bet. But because he needed to kill 3 or 4 additional seconds, you lost 2 or 3 additional yards that cost you the under. It sucks. It's the part of sports where you're just tough. Like... Because we've all won bets like that too. Yeah, just no business winning. Ball gets tipped up in the air 1,000,000 times, and somehow it lands in the grasp of your guy. I mean, just as unlikely of a win have happened too, but like
totally,
that one was brutal. I think people were mad a little bit because ESPN Bet had sent out a screenshot of this being like, and the total was this. I think that they were worried that like ESPN reposted it, and there were some people who were complaining, saying that they were suggesting ESPN thought that like Singletary knew the total. And you're like, no one thinks that. That was just the total.
Does a bad beat segment. They just start just leaning into the entertainment fun of that happening. Yeah, like
I did lose one bet one time to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Andy decided to, with 40 seconds left in a game, run a toss play to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He lost 8 yards on the play, and he went under his total by 2 yards.
That's a sickening. That's worse than the Mahomes one.
That was 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, that's gross.
I was like, of all the plays, you running a pitch?
Toss play to the outside. What's the verdict here? What's the most recent? Any new polling data you got for me on whether or not we're going to get?
Yeah, I mentioned last week. I
meant updated from that one.
There's not polls every week.
This isn't newer polls.
This isn't a presidential election. We don't get polling every week.
I am seeing more ads, I guess, on television for
you're right here on the station
as well as here.
I mean, it's on the ballot. The lawsuit failed. It's going to be on the ballot for legalizing sports wagering in Missouri, and folks in Missouri in early November, when you go to the ballot box to vote on everything else, you also have a question for Amendment 2. And we've talked about, obviously, that issue for years now, man. This is many years in the making. So polling is good so far, but you never know.
We'll see. There are 2 games tonight. Let's talk.
I like the doubleheader. Do you like it? I love it.
I like it better now than week 2, because the appeal of the doubleheader is like yesterday, right? We're in the 3:25 slate. Most of those games stunk.
They did. They stunk. The Ravens-Cowboys game was supposed to be much better. It wasn't. Yeah.
They stunk. So but Ravens-Cowboys game got interesting.
It did.
So if you give me enough football games, I might find an interesting one. That's what I like about the doubleheader is
Bills-Jags.
I won't watch both. If you give me one that ends up being good, I'll watch one of the good ones.
Bills-Jags, right now Buffalo looks like the second best team in the AFC. So I'm curious about that to begin with. Jacksonville's in a desperate spot here. Can they pull off a surprise? And then, of course, Cincinnati, they haven't won a game yet. Will they look like they should? They're going up against the Commanders with a rookie quarterback. They have
Looked
no
a lot
business,
better last week against the Chiefs than week one.
No business losing that game, but they also lost to the Patriots week one. So we'll see. I hope they're just close games. I'm hoping it also feels like they both have blowout potential, but hopefully not.
Most sudden this week in the NFL, the Jags win, the Bengals win. That the way week 3 in the NFL has gone this week, somehow the 2-0 team will lose to the 0-2 team because of course, and somehow Trevor Lawrence will look like his best all season. And then Cincinnati, some of the other 0-2 teams like the Ravens, will find a way to scratch out a win that's a little harder than it maybe needed to be, but still find a way to win like what happened with the Ravens. That's how I predict these two games going today, because the NFL seems like it's got waves week to week, and once you kind of know what the theme of the week is, you get a sense of it. I'm not actually calling it rigged, but it just feels like that's the way the NFL ebbs and flows.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's been playing Survivor knows how crazy this has been the first couple weeks of the season. Like yesterday, the Bucs were the most popular pick in most people's Survivors. They lose to the Broncos. Not just lose, they got beat up. Of course, Cleveland, we mentioned them with Deshaun Watson a second ago. Cleveland loses to the Giants. That was more of a coin flippy game, but still. And then we just talked about the Raiders earlier today. Raiders go up against Andy Dalton, and he has 330 yards and a 3-touchdown performance. Crazy.
Drew, if Cincinnati loses tonight, they're done, right? Even you would have to admit that the season's over?
He said he'll shave his head.
Pack it up?
We'll get rid of the haircut already.
Yes. That Cincinnati is done if they lose tonight. Season's over.
0-3 with losses to the Commanders and Patriots.
A single team, one, has ever started 0-3 and made the postseason.
So you're saying
one?
There's a chance.
Dude, one?
So you're
You
saying
think you're going to be the second?
I hope the Commanders cover, make it interesting tonight. But I mean, from what we've seen so far from Jaden Daniels, it hasn't been great.
He was pretty good last week, but
running, but not passing.
He only had like 7 incompletions last week and threw for 200 yards. I thought he was all right. Bo Nix had a great QBR, by the way.
Bo Nix played really good yesterday.
Yeah,
no, Bo Nix did play good yesterday.
A nice game.
But yeah, I think tonight's going to be. It'll be either be really close, or it's going to be the Bengals actually show up the way that they need to, and it's going to be like the Houston Minnesota game. I would like to see that. The Bengals haven't had a game like that in a long time.
No excuses anymore. You guys got T. Higgins coming back tonight as well. No excuses.
I'm very excited.
Excuses.
I think T. Higgins scoring a touchdown is a probably. I mean, that might be or Jamar Chase because he's going to be.
I think the first thing
he's not going to be double
is
teamed anymore.
Give Zach Moss the ball less and give it to Chase Brown more.
That would help. And then yes, Drew, T. Higgins being back probably leads to Jamar Chase having a big night. It feels kind of that way.
Yeah, I would think so.
Get things stabilized out in Cincy.
But what a weird, like you said, do I like the doubleheader? What a weird, just like week 3 random Monday night doubleheader.
They announced they were going to do this. They announced they were going to do this for you. There's a few other times in the season they're sprinkling. I like the Monday Night Football doubleheaders.
The fact that they stagger the times, I think,
that's what's nice about it. Yeah, I don't want them starting at the same time.
Yeah,
about a half apart.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be 40, 45 minutes, I believe, in between. The sort of. But by the way, the Bengals game tonight's a blackout. Again, theme nights. Come on now, NFL. Theme nights. By the way, Memphis,
that theme
USF,
of watch party at the stadium went great.
Memphis, USF, and Tulane staying in the American said no to the Pac-12 today. And UTSA,
someone from the
also,
American Conference.
That's why I'm telling you, it's a sideways move. There's no reason for them to move.
Yep.
Go after NDSU.
I guess you're right. North Dakota State and all of them are all just going to the Pac-12 now.
They have to come up with 2 more teams.
There's plenty of other teams to get to before they have to ask North Dakota State.
Utah State, not as good of an option, in my opinion. Maybe for basketball, though.
I don't know.
There was a report they might go after. Well, UTSA staying in the American as well. They said no.
We'll see.
We'll see how realignment goes. If we've learned anything from realignment, just because someone makes a decision in October or September doesn't mean come March they'll change their mind on their decision. All right, up next, C-Dot, The Drive, right here on 96.5 The Fan.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Men, when addressing the problem of erectile dysfunction, you want the right treatment for your specific medical situation because every case is different, and finding the right treatment can mean the difference between just an okay experience and an amazing one. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and at our practices, we offer the full range of ED treatment protocols and can even combine therapies to help make those intimate moments special both for you and your partner. At Heartland Men's Health, we take great pride in providing